Hey guys, quick disclaimer on this week's episode. We recorded this while on a hunt with Evan in his trailer. The table they're sitting around does come through a few times when bumped in the audio. We just wanted to give you guys a heads up, but we didn't want you guys to miss out on this great conversation. Enjoy the show.
So you go by what handle on Instagram?
The Bugler, one word.
For what reason?
Because I like to bugle.
You like to bugle.
I like to bugle.
I know you do. So
And I'm not talking about a brass bugle.
No,
I don't play tap.
It's not like a German horn.
No.
We're talking about something completely different.
Ricola.
We're talking about something completely different. So the Bugler. How long, and I don't want to refer to you as that specifically,
Right.
but how long have you been doing this, and what's the fascination with it? And like, give us the why behind why you're so fascinated with this, and like what drives you to be good at it.
So I started calling elk when I was 15 years old.
Right.
Had a cousin that said, "Yeah, you can bugle these elk in," and back then he would kind of suck in and make a screaming noise in his voice, with his voice inside of like a old PVC pipe.
Can you mimic that?
When I do it, I sound like I'm calling hogs, but I mean, I'll try.
Did he ever get lucky?
I think he did. I mean,
Yeah?
he said he did, but
Yeah.
I don't know if he did or not.
That actually sounds better than what you bugled today.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should go back to
Absolutely.
And you and I go back how many years?
I don't know, since birth. I
Yeah,
guess.
45. So to be fair, Dirk is my cousin, and we've known each other forever. We grew up very close to one another for the first 5 years. Then I moved to Lewiston. He was up in Whitey all your life, right?
Yeah, most all my life.
Yeah. Out in the middle of rural Idaho. And Mark, we've known each other since we were kids, because our families were really close. Your mom, my mom were very close. And you grew up in, what, Pierce?
Yeah, a little town called Cardiff.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Lewiston.
And then Lewiston. Yeah.
And then you guys move back?
We moved back. I moved back my junior year.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
right. You had to finish it off.
Had to finish it
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfinished business.
And we were talking earlier about like just what it was like, not really what it was like, but growing up in rural northern Idaho. It was a very, very special place. And I didn't understand that, because you take everything for granted as a kid, where you think wherever you grew up is not as cool as the other places. I don't know if you guys thought that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like, oh, other places must be so cool. And it took me a long time in a lot of different places to realize that where we grew up was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then we were like so lucky to have had that experience of growing up in that place.
Oh yeah.
Just the people, the small towns and the people and the what they were doing for recreation, what they were doing for work. Like everybody was, I don't want to like paint it in a totally romantic light, because it wasn't always amazing, but it took me a long time. I say, I left Idaho when I was 22, and so that was 23 years ago. So I left Idaho 23 years ago. I've been spending 22 years trying to get back. So that's how special of a place is. And Dirk has been hunting these animals probably since day one, right?
Since I was 15 years old,
Yeah.
right?
Was your dad, I can't remember, was your dad a big elk hunter?
He was when he was a young man. My dad was 50 when I was born, so he was an old fart.
Story is super interesting, by the
Yeah.
way, which I think is like applicable. Is your dad, like, tell us about your dad, because I think it's it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And tell us about your dad.
So he grew up in the Great Depression,
Yeah.
back in Illinois. Tiny little town in Illinois, dirt poor. I mean, his dad worked all summer long for $100. Like, it was that poor. He said one time they were really hard up for food, and they ate rutabagas for like
Well, I don't even know what that is.
I don't even
What
know
is a
that.
rutabaga?
I don't know. I
I
don't
thought
know
that was
either.
a car.
And he finally said he was like 5. And he's like, I'm sick of these damn rutabagas. And his dad's like, I kind of like them. But he knew damn well his dad didn't like them. But that's what they had to eat, or they'd starve to death, basically. So then fast forward, and World War II comes along.
Right.
And he knew he'd get drafted anyway. So he just went and signed up. So joined the Marine Corps.
Yep.
and he went to the Pacific Theater and saw everything that you could possibly see in the Pacific. He was on Iwo Jima.
Yep.
He said seeing the guys raise the flag on Iwo Jima. He said it was a rough go.
Yeah, and I didn't understand that. Your dad, the last time that I talked to him was before I went to Iraq, and it was at my dad's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was getting married, and he'd come to the wedding, and I was telling him, what I was doing and where I was going or whatever, and he's like, "You know what you need? You need a good knife for killing and digging or something." Like, it's fucking crazy. I was like, "Geez, man! Like, I'm just talking about like going to be a Green Beret or whatever, And he's like, "Good knife. You can dig with it. You can kill with it, or whatever." And I was like, "It's solid advice.
Jesus.
It's really
That
good
is,
advice."
yeah.
And it wasn't exactly that, but that's what I remember is the frame of reference, because he's also a very, very nice man, is what I remember.
Yeah.
And but he talked to me for a long time about how a good knife is a really quality thing to have, and I just remember that conversation for so long. Did he ever talk about it?
Yeah, he'd talk about it. Well, we could never watch any war films.
Right.
We couldn't play Army.
Mm-hmm.
I think those things just triggered his PTSD.
Right.
So he just would not allow that kind of stuff in the house. But he would talk about it. Anytime any of my brother's friends wanted to enlist in whatever branch of the military, then he'd say, "Hey, come talk to me," and he'd tell them all of the war stories.
Right.
What it was like of jumping out of the boat and running up on beaches and dodging bullets and shooting back and all the horrors that go with war. He wanted to make sure they knew what they were getting into, because sometimes it's not always fun. You see the cool shit, but you don't see the kind of the guts of it. You see the glory, but maybe not the guts of the whole thing. So
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy.
Well, how did he find his way to Idaho?
So right after the war, come back. His sister lived in California, in Los Angeles. Well, my dad was a country boy anyway. Moved to Los Angeles, and they called it being shell shock back then. I think he was had a lot of PTSD, and he Los Angeles was not the place to be. Way too many people.
No.
And he had some relatives that moved to Idaho, and they were telling him about it. And they're like, "Oh my God, it's amazing! It's a beautiful paradise. There's elk and deer and streams with fish, and just kind of told all about it." And he's like, "Man, that sounds like a place for me."
Right.
So him and his brother moved up there to the little town of Whitey.
Yeah.
Just
did they just pick it randomly? Were they like Whitey?
Well, that's where their relatives had moved.
Oh, okay.
So so they're like, "Well, we're going up there too." And he said it was amazing. He said there were more bears. They would see bears all the time, like crossing the road. He said there were more bears than people. There was just the land of plenty. Just had everything.
What year did he get up there? Like right after World War II? Like 46, 47, something like that?
I think probably 46. Yeah, I think it was about a year after he got out.
Right. So he had a frame of reference of that time that like not a lot of people really understood. Like my grandpa, and you remember him, Whitey.
Yeah.
Like I used to always have these like conversations with him because he was in a B-24 Liberator in World War II, and he would talk a little bit about it, not a lot, but my grandpa Whitey was like a super fun guy. Like I fucking still to this day, I would say a lot of my personality traits actually come from my grandpa Whitey, because he was he loved practical jokes. He was fucking hilarious. Like he was super funny. Yeah, he was super funny. And I didn't know that your dad was in World War II until like quite a lot later in life. I didn't realize it because, you and I are not too far apart in age.
Yep.
And it just never dawned on me that, he would have a younger family, I guess.
Yeah.
Because your oldest sibling, how old was your oldest?
My oldest brother, Kent, I think he's 8 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he started his family.
He started his family in his 40s.
Really?
Yeah, he had a previous marriage. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then he robbed the cradle. My mom, she was right out of high school. And I think she was 14 years younger than him.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they started a family, and
The rest is
history.
What did he do? Like, what did he do to pay the bills? Was he logging, or was he?
So he started out doing logging.
Yeah.
Him and his brother had a mill for a while, and had a bad spring, couldn't get wood, and went bankrupt, and then went back to logging, and then eventually he got a job with Potlatch up in headquarters,
Right.
being a mechanic,
Yeah.
heavy duty diesel mechanic. So he worked on skidders, log skidders, cats.
Right.
Anything that was any of the big off-road
Yeah.
diesel stuff. He worked on.
Didn't you guys move to a foreign country?
We moved to a little foreign country out in the South Pacific for about a month.
Are you kidding me?
No,
I didn't know that.
no, yeah,
What
Yeah.
year was that?
86.
And what was he
Okay.
doing then?
Same thing.
Oh,
He
okay.
got this job. These people like, yeah, we own this huge, international company that builds roads, and we get to this little town. It's called Rhoda, which is right off of Guam.
Okay.
It's a tiny little island, and part of World War II reparations, they've been rebuilding the road system there.
Right.
They've been working on paving this road for like 7 years before we got there. And it was like a 12 mile stretch of road. It was like some kind of a scam, really, on the government. But we got there, and the guy's like, yeah, we got all this equipment and stuff. And we get there, and their equipment was junk. Wouldn't hardly run. Didn't even have a shop. Didn't have any tools to fix it. And he's just like, what? So he's like, okay, I need these tools. I need these parts. I need all this stuff. Okay, we'll order it. And we were there about a month. And one day he comes home from work. It's actually the day the space shuttle blew up, right? In 1985.
Yeah, the Challenger. Yeah.
Yep. And he's like, man, I got news. I'm like, I know, the space shuttle blew up. He's like, no, we're going home. The boss came in and said, hey, man, I'm really sorry, but the old mechanic, he came back, which was his brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
I guess his brother-in-law had a bad habit of like disappearing for a week or two, island hopping, getting drunk and stuff.
That's fair.
And he hadn't been back for over a month, and they're like, maybe he died. They hadn't heard from him, so they hired my dad. Anyway, he's like, well, I got to give my brother-in-law's job back. He's like, all right, well, we'll go back to Weehype. So we loaded back up on a plane and headed home.
That's a wild story. I had no idea. So first time on the podcast, I learned something new.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And he was always in the woods, basically. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Always in the
always
woods.
in the woods.
And your dad too, Mark. Like,
Mhm.
because my dad was a log truck driver for the most part, and logging truck. And your dad, what did he do?
So he he started out hooking at
Yeah.
a young age, and then he went to running loader and then log truck driving too. So
Right.
yep.
And what I remember, and you guys can like course correct me on this, but what I remember of my childhood was like, especially when I was out in the truck with my dad, we were always in the mountains, right, or the woods, right.
Mhm.
I don't know if you call them relatively mountains, but you're always in the woods, and like there's things that always key a memory in my childhood, which is chainsaws. Like it's like that smell.
Yeah,
Of
chainsaw
like-
smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah. It like
The
instantly
smell of sawdust.
Yeah, sawdust. And like sawdust on denim, because when my dad would come home, I'd give him a hug or something like that, and I remember like the fuel and the sawdust and like
Yeah.
what it like giving him a hug from a kid, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
like we're talking like knee high,
Mhm.
not
How about
like,
the old lunchbox and the
Yeah, dude.
Stanley thermos?
Yeah.
The Stanley
That smell
thermos.
too. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember like the coffee company and the connection, because I had all these like really cool memories of like my grandpa Whitey and my dad, and they had that Stanley thermos, and it would just be rolling around,
Yeah, beat to hell.
beat to shit. It was
Yeah.
like all the paint had been worn off of it, and you had that chrome plated cup that you'd screw
Yep.
off
Yep,
the top,
yep.
and you'd pop the
Yeah, and that's
plastic
what you drink
inside.
your coffee out of.
Yeah. And that was the first cup of coffee I ever had, was from one of those Stanley thermoses in my dad's logging truck. And do you guys remember Barry Bailey?
Oh yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah.
So the first chew of Copenhagen I ever had was Barry Bailey. I was riding around in his logging truck. I was probably like 5 years old.
Yeah.
And he was putting in a dip, and I was like, hey, can I have some of that? And he was like, yeah. So he busted me over into the truck, and I was driving the truck. So he
Oh,
was like,
shit.
had me on his lap. And I was driving his truck, and he was like, "You want some Copenhagen?" It's like, "Yeah, I'll take some of that." So I was like putting in some Copenhagen and driving the logging truck.
You puked all over from it.
Oh fuck, dude. Yeah. Well, I remember getting so dizzy that I like almost like fell over or whatever, and I spit it all out because I was. Gosh, man, I was not over 5 years old at that point. He gave me a dip of Copenhagen.
Oh, Jesus.
What the fuck is he thinking?
Right.
Like,
right.
Would any one of us give a 5-year-old a dip of Copenhagen
Absolutely
right now?
not. Absolutely not.
No chance in hell would we ever do that. And
But what'd your dad do to him? I mean,
nothing.
Maybe he's getting back like, well, damn Ed.
Yeah.
One time he did this. I'll get back and give his kid some chew.
Didn't ever do. Like,
No.
No, because I think it was more like standard protocol. Because
Yeah,
I remember,
that's true.
like, I remember my grandpa, and he would be drinking like Jim Beam or something. You know, I'm like, "You want a nip?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he didn't really drink a lot. Nobody in my family actually drank a lot, but I was like, I'd see him like tipping it in every now and again, and like, you know, drinking a little bit. But he'd give me a nip. But I remember how I grew up. And I would imagine it's very similar because we share like families and like, my grandpa used to like dump me off, and like he would dump me off on like one ridge line, and then he'd be like, just walk in that direction. I'm going to meet you on the other side, while he was like using me to flush whatever he was trying to hunt.
The elk or deer.
Yeah. Whatever he was hunting, it was like using me. He's like, he dropped me off. So on a corner of something, he'd be like, drop me off here. He's like, just keep walking in that direction.
Let you bird dog for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I'd be flushing the deer out for him, or at that time, so he could fucking plug
whatever comes running out.
And once again, I was not over the age of 9. And like, I remember it distinctly, even where it was. So above, what is it? Fords Creek. Yeah. The falls up there.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in behind the Whitey, there's a couple logging roads out there.
Yep.
And he would dump me off. And I remember because he used to always go back there, and whether it was in season or out, I don't think it was really mattered at that point. And I remember exactly where it was because my cousin Danny and I used to go down there and go down to the falls and fuck around.
Yeah,
or
it's a
whatever.
cool place.
Yeah, it's a super cool place. But you guys grew up, and I will say this, like, you guys were hunting early on, like way more than I was. And then it stayed with you like into adulthood, and you guys like took it really fucking serious. Like very, very serious. Like I remember that distinctly. So Mark and I go way back too. And you remember you were probably maybe 14. What was didn't you get like was it a Sitka? Not Sika. What is that like what was your first like hunting rifle that you got? Like,
I don't even remember.
It was, God damn it.
I had a Weatherby.
Yeah, it was a Weatherby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Weatherby. Because didn't it have a composite stock on your first one or something like that? Your dad bought it for you for like Christmas.
That was a Ruger.
Was it? Yeah, there was a Ruger.
Yeah,
That's
remember
right,
they had those.
Composite stock.
Yeah, there was a stainless steel. Ruger had kind of that skeletonized.
Yeah.
Composite stock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kick like a mule.
Yeah, I remember that. Because that was either Christmas or your birthday. I can't remember what it was. I
can't remember either. But
and he just lived like not too far down the street from me, and I was like so fucking envious, man. I was like, oh my god, that thing is awesome. And because we were shooting black powder, that was like the thing that my like grandpa and everybody else shot. We were shooting black powder, and you had like a badass new hunting rifle, and I was like, man, that's fucking awesome.
And I couldn't hit shit with it.
Really?
No, it's horrible, man. I got rid of it because everything I shot at, I missed.
Really?
It was the gun's fault, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, always.
It's never operator error.
Yeah, no.
Never. It's always like equipment malfunction. But your dads took hunting really serious. Mm-hmm. Like they were serious guys.
Our whole family did.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a whole family that hunted from the time I can remember. Aunts, uncles. It was a family thing. You go out and build a campfire and do like you said. We drive from one road to the next. Everybody pick a ridge, and there'd be freaking 10 people going down through this section, chasing elk everywhere. You know, shots being fired. Like it was a family event.
Yeah.
Like every fall. Like so, I mean, yeah, I don't know anything different. That's just what we did.
But your dad, he was into archery early.
Him and my uncle Randy Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were into that archery. So even as a little kid, we got bugle bulls, right? And Randy could do the voice thing really well, a little piece of pipe. And then they had a whistle. They'd blow a little curly-cue whistle, all kinds of gadgets. But just the stories of them archery hunting, I mean, they'd just lose their shit, I think. The bulls would come screaming in, and I don't think they remember anything after that, other than they didn't have an elk to take home.
Well, I was thinking about that when we were talking earlier, was because I grew up with stories about how many elk there were, like, in where we lived. Like, all, from, like, the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and I think you guys probably did too. It seemed like there were like thousands of opportunities, right? It just seemed like there were so many different opportunities, and that's one of the reasons why I think this place is super cool, because there's a lot of opportunities. It actually it reminds me of the stories that I used to hear from like my grandpa and my uncle and all those guys about where we grew up.
Yeah.
When you first started in archery, why why archery for both of you, and then how? Like, because was your dad into archery? I can't.
No, my dad's like them damn bow hunters. He didn't like bow hunting at all.
He didn't like it.
You go to work and hear the guys talk. I found an elk with an arrow in it.
Right.
Damn bow hunters, or whatever. But I made up my mind I was going to be a bow hunter when I was 14. I'd been seeing bear tracks along this old pond.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to set up a bear bait. I'm going to get this bear. And looking back now, I don't even think you're supposed to put like bear bait next to a water source, right? That's illegal. I didn't know. I was 14 years old. Anyway, that was illegal, number one. Number
Statute
two,
of limitations. I think so.
Number two, I had a bunch of fish heads and fish skeletons I'd saved up, and they were nasty and gross. I'm like, oh yeah, this will draw a bear in for sure. So I put them on there. I don't think you're supposed to use
that's not legal.
fish. That's
yeah, it's not legal.
I didn't know.
But at that time you were around wee ipe. So
it's wee ipe.
I think everything's legal.
That's how they did things, right? So I set up this bear bait, and I'm sitting on this pond, and had my dad drop me off. 14 years old, hour before daylight, dropped me off a mile from this place. He's like, all right, I'll see you at noon. Drops me off. I walk up there with a rifle, sit down by a big old pine tree, and I'm waiting for daylight. Pretty soon daylight comes, and I hear some brush popping. I'm like, here we go. Here comes that bear. I'm going to get him. And out walks elk. Like 3 cows and a bull. They go over, get a drink, play around the water a little bit. And I'm just like, oh my God. Today's opening day of archery season, and here I am without a bow. I have a bow at home, but I don't have any damn arrows. I have like a wooden arrow, and I have like an aluminum arrow that's kind of crooked. And I mean, I had just a shit show for a bow, right?
Right.
I'm like, oh my God. This thing was like 20 yards. These things were like 20 yards from me. It would have been totally easy to kill one with a bow. So they left, and man, that's all I can think about now. So when my dad gets there, he picks me up at noon. You'll never believe what I saw, and I tell him about it. I'm like, okay, here's what we're doing. We're driving to Orfino, and we're going to go to the sporting goods store. And we're going to buy some arrows and some broadheads and and an elk tag. He's like, no, we're not. I said, why? He's like, you can't kill an elk with a bow. I'm like, yes, you can. People do it all the time. And he's like, no. You don't need to be one of them damn bow hunters. I said, well, I'm gonna. Well, I'm gonna buy. He's like, what are you gonna buy it with? He's like, you don't have any money. I'm like, well, you're right. Yeah, I don't have no money. I'm a 14-year-old kid. So the next summer, I worked all summer long, saved all my money. I went and bucked bales, put hay up all over the prairie up there, right? Worked like a dog, and saved all my money. I think I had about $500. Blew it all on a new bow, arrows, some camo, everything. Elk calls, had everything I needed. My dad's like, well, you're pretty serious about this. Huh? He's like, well, if you kill an elk, then I'll tell you what, a bull elk, I will pay you back for the money you put into that. I'm like, deal. So practice with calls all summer. And I think I was kind of natural. I kind of took off, pretty good with it. Opening day come along, and I had some close encounters. Day 2, my best friend, he came back to the truck with no arrows in his quiver. He shot at like 6 different elk and missed every single one of them. I mean, it was that good a hunting. And we're just a couple dumb kids. We we couldn't call that good, I don't think. And by the third day, then I had to go by myself. My buddy got in trouble from his old man for being lippy, so he got grounded. So my mom, and I was 15, I didn't have a driver's license, so my mom had to take me out. And she's like, well, I think I'll wait. I want to listen. So we'd seen some elk in a field. And we pull over the truck, and I get out, and I start walking down this old logging road. I bugle, and Bull bugles back, and I bugle, and we're going back and forth. And I'd watch some videos, but they didn't.
Where did you watch the video?
Well, I had a high school teacher, and he had like a VHS tape with like 7 hours of elk hunting videos. He gave me.
Okay.
And so it had Larry D. Jones and all those old guys that bow hunted and filmed back then.
Right.
So I kind of had a little idea about how to do it. I'd read a book. Dwight Shue had wrote a book back in the day about how to bow hunt elk. And so bugle back and forth with this bull, and in my mind, I kind of understood. It made sense to me. I mean, I'm trying to fight this elk. I want to fight this elk, right?
Right.
So you got to role play a little bit. Yeah,
I'm getting it. I'm role playing.
So,
keep going.
So you got to role play a little bit here, and act like an elk, right? So in my mind, I'm like, I'll just act like an elk. I'm gonna act like a pissed off bull elk, and I'm gonna act like I have some cows because I think they want to breed, so they'll probably want to come over and fight me for my cows. So this is what I did, just back and forth, calling.
So hold on. So you're thinking about this stuff when you're 15 years old.
Yeah.
You're thinking, I get this. I'm trying to get into the psychology of an elk.
Right.
At 15 years old.
Right. It made sense to me. I don't know why. So I'm walking down this old road, and there's a road grader. They've been logging right there, and there's a road grader park. I'm like, I gotta get by this stupid road grader. That bull's not gonna come in and be able to see a road grader and not be scared. Well, I got about 20 yards from that road grader, and I hear brush pop, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta set up right here. So I set up. His bull walks out right in this old road, this old logging road. Pull back my bow, whack, shoot him, 15 yards. He runs off, dies about 150 yards later. I'm like, oh my God. So I go back to the truck. Mom, I got one. She's like, yeah, I heard the whole thing. I couldn't tell which was you or the elk. I'm like, she's probably just trying to be nice. Right. I'm sure she could. But anyway, so she went back to town, got my dad. She walked in the house and said, get your come along and your $500. Dirk killed a bull elk. And he's like, no, he didn't. She's like, yeah, I'm serious. Get your shit. So he came out there with our old beater wood truck.
Yeah.
And we loaded that sucker whole with a come along.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that truck.
Loaded that thing whole. And I don't think he had a prouder day. I mean, that was probably proudest day as a father, you know?
Yeah.
And so ever since I was hooked, I'm like, I fooled a wild animal to think I'm another wild animal.
Right.
It was so much fun. And from that day on, I found the greatest thing that you could possibly do. I mean, that is the funnest thing ever. So I just kind of stuck with it. And honestly, you know, a lot of people are good at a lot of things. Yeah. I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm pretty good at calling elk. So
yeah. And we'll touch on that a little bit later. So thinking back to when you were 15, what were you using? What was your setup?
So there was a company called Lohman.
Okay.
And it had this looked like a vacuum cleaner hose tube. And then it had a little wooden dowel that was turned down with a small hole in it. And that was the tube I used.
Right.
And then a diaphragm. They had like a 22A and a 22B. I think I like the 22B.
Right.
I think. I mean, this is 30 years ago.
Jeez.
But anyway, man, I loved those calls. And my best friend, who's my brother-in-law now, he chose a different kind of tube, some different calls. But then he kind of come over the same calls I did. And anyway, it just kind of went from there. Just
what was your bow?
I had a High Country Trophy Hunter.
Okay.
Yeah, it was their demo model off the floor, and
right.
The guy's like, "You're a kid. I'll make you a good deal on this thing."
Did they like measure draw length? And like they did the whole thing.
They did the whole thing.
Right.
They did the whole thing. I said, I don't know anything about this, but I heard you guys got the best bows there are.
And that was in Lewiston.
And that was in Lewiston. They were built.
Yeah, they had a
built
pretty
right
cool
in
building.
Lewiston.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, shooting range in there and everything.
Yeah. So
that was awesome.
Yeah. So they adjusted it, set it up, and I shot it in the indoor range. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And they're like, cool. So they built me the arrows, everything right then and there.
What about so you're using a wrist strap release?
Yep. a Scott release.
Okay.
Which I used for about 25 years.
Shut up.
No shit. Yeah, I did. I used it
The
for about
same one?
Same one. Yeah. For about 25 years. And finally it started getting gummy. So like when you try to
Finally, after 25
Yeah.
years, this thing
I had
started
one of those
getting
too, one of those
gummy.
caliper releases,
Yeah, it had
and
the
mine ended
Velcro
up getting a burr
strap.
on it or something because it started ripping my string.
Well, mine started getting kind of like that too, but then it started hanging up, and I think got it wet too many times, and there was a little bit rusty in there, so I bought a brand new one. So I bought a brand new one here a few years ago, same one I got today. It's all beat
Same
up too.
one.
Yeah, well, why it works
Why
fine.
change?
Well,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
works fine.
Seems like they get better with age.
Yeah,
I don't know what
Mine-
it is.
Just like smooth out.
Yeah,
Buff
yeah.
out all the
And
rough edges.
you know, these guys are spending $300 on a these tension
Yeah.
back tension releases.
Right.
And I bought the cheapest damn thing. This thing was like $35. This last one, I think I paid $25 for the first one.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious.
Holy
So-
shit! And so, your broadhead. What was on your broadhead?
Thunderheads, 125s. Yeah,
Okay.
aluminum arrows, Easton XX75 arrows. I had an overdraw on the bow.
Okay.
That was kind of the new thing, the new
Right.
fad.
Mhm.
And my arrows were 25 fucking inches long.
20.
25 inches
Do you remember
long.
pounds?
80.
Shit.
80 pounds, 60% let off. I don't.
That's no fucking. That's no joke.
Yeah,
for
there's
a
no joke.
15-year-old.
Yeah. I bucked bales all summer
Yeah,
long in the
that's fair.
hayfield,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah,
was
that's fair.
That was
Yeah.
pretty strong.
Yeah.
And that thing shot. I think it shot pretty fast for the times.
What do you think it shot? What do you think feet per second?
I think it's probably 280.
Okay.
I think it was right up there with the
Yeah.
stuff I shoot today.
Right.
But now we got carbon arrows and
Yeah.
the coolest shit there is. But
Do you
Had
remember
wheels about that big, probably.
like
they
tiny?
were pretty
Were
big.
pretty good size.
Do you remember where you shot it?
Where I impacted
Yeah. Where was the arrow?
This is funny. So I hit it pretty high in the lungs,
Uh-huh.
and I shot a bull elk last night. And with the exit wound, I said to Mark, I said, that's about where I shot that first bull elk I ever shot, right there, right in that same spot.
So high lungs.
Yeah, high
Was he
lungs.
quartering away towards like?
He was perfectly broadside.
Okay, nice.
The first one,
Yeah.
the one I shot last night he was a little quartered towards me. So
Okay. And then, like, so you got your setup. You're 15. Do you even know how to break down an animal?
I'd killed a few deer at that point
Right.
and gutted them.
Okay.
So I knew what to do. But my dad
Right.
got there and helped me.
He
gut
just
it.
did it.
Yeah,
Or
he
he helped you.
he told me how to do it. He's like,
Okay.
you're going to do this yourself.
Solid.
So I gutted it, we loaded it whole, and we took it to the taxidermy shop in Pierce,
Okay.
old Hoots Taxidermy.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a meat pole big enough to hang an entire goddamn elk, right? So we drive up there and skin this thing on his meat pole, give the guy that cape, and the guy's like, that's a pretty nice bull. You should probably get a head mount. And my dad's like, you want to get a head mount? I'm like, I know our situation, our financial
Right, yeah.
situation. We're not destitute, but we don't have another extra $500 at the
Right.
time to just be thrown around on head mounts. I'm like, no, I'm good. Let's whack the horns off. So I gave the cape to the taxidermist, and
What'd you do with the horns?
I still got them
Where at?
at my house.
Where? But do you hang them up or?
I have in the past.
Yeah.
I kind of broke the plaque, so
Okay.
I got them in my little shed right now.
Is it one of those like the felt? Is it like the
It had-
antlers with the felt? What are those things called?
Yeah, it's
With
like a
the-
plaque mount.
Just a
Oh
plaque.
yeah, plaque.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
So when I was a freshman in high school, no, not freshman. So I was a sophomore in high school. I shot this. So in shop class, a lot of the kids were making plaques to put
Yeah.
deer and elk antlers on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I made one out of walnut,
Okay.
a real beautiful
Yeah,
piece of walnut, and I put some putty on the skull plate, and I put purple velvet
Sweet.
right over it.
Purple velvet.
And some gold rope around
Fuck
the
yeah.
bases. It was cool as shit.
Is it still the same?
No, it fell off the wall once and kind
Oh.
of broke some of this. It didn't break the rack, but it broke some of the shit off. And
Right.
after that, I just kind of hung it in the rafters with the rest of them. So
Man, that's like iconic though.
Yeah.
Like, you're 15 years old. Like you had to be kind of a fucking legend at that point.
well, the kids probably didn't like me for
Right.
that. Like, oh yeah, he got it now, lucky or whatever. But
Because was there anybody else that was your age that got an elk? that
not
you
too
know
many. Not too many. There's
No.
there's a couple. There's some kids at school that their dads or whatever bow hunted,
Right.
and they'd got an elk too. But
Right.
my dad didn't bull hunt. He's like, if you want to do this, then you're gonna have to pedal your own bicycle.
Right.
I'm not gonna help you. So,
I mean, it seems like, because back then, did it drive other guys that you know to go out and try it though?
yeah, there's a couple classmates,
Yeah.
that really wanted to get into it too. And we went hunting and stuff.
Well, I think that's one of the most probably underappreciated aspects of it, because like I found you guys have done this way more, because I'm trying to play catch up because I lost 15 years of my life to that pesky global war on terror that was kind of a pain in my ass for hunting seasons. But I'm trying to play catch up, and so now I'm like, I'm in my 40s, but one of the things that I didn't get earlier on was like these really close encounters with elk, which are fucking crazy. Like they're amazing. They're like these amazing, what did somebody call them? Forest horses or some shit the other day, right? They're fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine that at 15. I gotta get my foot out of there.
Fall asleep.
A little bit short, but at 15, you got those really close encounters, and were you having those same things too?
Probably
archery?
my earliest memory of calling in bulls. I was 6, and my dad. So we were living in Cardiff at the time, and a little place called Shanghai.
Yeah.
We were out in Shanghai, and it was rifle season back then. I think it opened on the 1st of October, but we had a bull screaming, and he drug me through a damn bee's nest, and I got stung all over in the head. And all I can remember is, you got to be quiet. You can't cry. You get, we got this bull right here. And he ended up calling that bull in probably like 10 yards and whacking it with his rifle. It made me lay down in the huckleberry brush, out of the way. Why this thing comes in, I can remember looking up out of the huckleberry brush and seeing that thing. It was right there. And he just dropped it like 10 yards from us. So it was pretty badass.
That's fucking badass.
Yeah.
Because my dad used to fancy himself as a caller.
Oh, yeah.
But he couldn't do it to save his ass. But you remember, and I can't remember, you'll probably, or one of you guys will remember it. Those, they were small, really small pipes with baffles on it, and they were really hard, and they were
they're corrugated and twisted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that was in his truck at all times. But I never saw him use it. Like it was in his truck at all times, like around. It was in his logging truck.
I remember those.
It's not one of those whistles, was it?
Yeah, that you just blew in it, and it's like,
yeah, and it was like,
it's kind of like this, kind of like the straws at taco time.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, it was like a straw,
Yeah.
and he had that in there all the time, and I used to play with it all the time.
Mhm.
And he'd get it out of the truck and like, and you're like, you're never gonna. I never saw him do I've never seen my dad call. I've never seen my dad kill an elk. Until we were 3 years ago, until we were out here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because it was always like he was, 300 feet away or wherever it was.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't actually seen what went on until I took him out here to Utah and was like, all right, dude, it's time for you to put up or shut up, because he was always talking shit about, but he did a great job, actually.
Yeah. My dad treated it like a job.
Yeah, I can
He
imagine.
was we're hiking, none of this bullshit driving a 4-wheeler around. We're hiking up top of that knob. I mean, we're going to shoot it. I mean, it was just go, go, go too. There wasn't one, I can remember he'd have friends over or whatever. And it's like, all right, we're going to walk through this patch and we're going to meet at this time.
Right.
And if the guy didn't show up at that time, he was pissed. We had another hunt to make. And I can remember him being so pissed at this one guy because he didn't show up on
We're
time.
no longer friends.
Yeah, I mean, literally driving around honking, yelling for him. I mean, just going crazy because we had another hunt to go to.
Right.
Yeah, this one's over, man. We've been that. Yeah, but no, he treated it like a job.
And that's one thing I remember. And that's one thing I remember from growing up was bow hunters were psychopaths.
Yeah.
They were completely immersed in this, and that's the only thing they thought about all the fucking time. That's all they thought about. So when you drive around now and you're you see guys and they got their stickers on their truck or whatever, and you're yeah, dude, there was nobody like that. There's like such a small group of people like that when we were much younger.
Oh yeah.
And you guys were kind of in the thick of it, I would say. Because when did you start archery hunting?
I started archery hunting at 12, and which is the first year you could.
Yeah.
And I had like a little golden eagle. Remember that brand?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
wooden looking compound
Yeah.
bow. And I wounded a calf that year, and so we were out same area where my dad killed that one, and we called in this calf to like 5 yards, and I drew back on it, and it comes walking out there. And my dad's standing behind me, and I'm like, I really don't want to shoot. I knew it was a calf. I didn't want to shoot it, but I turned around. And my dad's like, you know, I'm gonna shoot that thing, you know. And I hit it right in the shoulder. Never did find it, you know. So I was pretty upset being a 12-year-old. I didn't want to shoot it anyway as a calf at that time, you know. And man, I remember crying over that whole deal. And then I never killed my first elk till I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah. So with
a
my
bow?
rifle.
With a rifle.
Yep.
Did you go out though? Were you out?
I did. We
hunting
lived
with-
in Lewiston though
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
and I maybe got one weekend
Right.
a year to go. You know, my dad worked at the mill, so it was shift work. He had
Right.
most weekends he was working, so just didn't have the opportunity to go at that time. So
And that's what I remember, you know, from like 20 plus years ago, right? It's like bow hunters were the I don't know exactly how you describe it, but they were like, they had an intense, there was like an intensity to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never understand it. I was like, I just don't understand this.
What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, what's wrong?
Right.
Like, what's wrong in your fucking head? Like,
Yeah.
it's a stick and a string. It doesn't make any sense. Like,
it all goes back to calling them in,
yeah,
because the rifle hunters never experienced that, right? So
1000%.
Yeah.
The bow hunters go out there and they have this experience of calling these things in close, and you know, most of the time you're screwing it up.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just an addicting thing. Once you're figuring it out now. I mean, once they're screaming like they are here, it's just like, man, it's got you.
Yeah,
It's got you.
Nail on the head.
Mhm.
Because I didn't understand it, and I used to always be like, whatever. Like, you know, I can shoot. Like, you know, it's shooting, it's not hunting, whatever. Like, you know, these bow guys are fucking psychopaths, or what? I didn't get it.
Right.
And then once the elk is, you know, 10 yards away, and it's like fucking raging,
Screaming
and
at
you can
you.
like
Yeah.
see the snot coming out their fucking nose, and they're like, and they're drooling, and
Yeah,
they just
they're
got
dripping
like,
and
or they're
shit.
like rolling around in the mud and getting fucking crazy. You're like, this.
They sound like Godzilla.
Yeah, it's awesome. You're like, this
Yeah.
is the coolest thing I think I've ever seen in my life, because it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
wild animal, and it's huge, and it's got giant swords on its head, and it's fucking rolling around in the mud 10 yards away from you. You're like, this is the craziest fucking experience
Oh,
I've
yeah.
ever had in my life.
Yeah.
But this is all I want to do now, right? It's like,
Yeah.
that's all I want to do is like get close, really fucking close to these things, and then eat them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a rifle hunter at that time, you're walking an old road hoping to catch one feeding, or
Right.
you know,
Right.
you'd shoot an elk, ran into a herd of them. But
Yeah, and it's like, I never really got it. I was like, you know, it was more of like a meat thing, right? It was like,
Yeah.
we got the meat, and I was like, it's good, like it's actually very delicious, but I was like, what the fuck? But now I got it. Like, I didn't get it until later in life. I actually used
Yeah.
to look at bow hunters like, what's the deal, man? Like,
It's the big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a stick and a string.
Can't you just shoot them with a gun?
Yes.
I mean, that'd be way easier.
How many times have you heard that in your
Oh
life?
yeah. Oh, tons.
right.
Tons.
Yeah. But when I was 15, I decided right then and there. I said, I will bow hunt for the rest of my life. I don't care anything else. I told my mom, all I want to do is call elk. All I want to do is kill elk. Every day I'd have to go to school. I have to get back in time to go to school in the morning. I hunted every single day of September in high school, every morning and every night after school. Once I kill my bull, then my best friend, we'd go out. And I tell my mom, I'm like, school is ruining my life, because it was interrupting with my bow hunting, right? And to this day, I'm like, back when I had to work, and normal jobs, where you maybe get a weekend off, or if you're lucky, you have some vacation time. And I'd be at work in September just like, oh my God, I'm wasting my life away working at this job when I should be bow hunting elk.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many times have you thought that in your adult life where you're like, this is September?
A lot.
And if you guys like, do you save your vacation every year for September? Like, is that the month where you're like, I'm taking?
Yeah, and we talked. I really don't
Yeah.
use too much vacation, but we work 4 days a week, so we have some long weekends
Right.
and go. But back when I, my old job when I was younger, we quit hunting I quit hunting kind of the local unit around the house and went to the backcountry, and I was probably, 22,
Right.
23. And it was just, I wanted that challenge of more mature bulls, less people, getting back in. So I started crawling around in that country, staying in a tent at night and with my pack frame and shooting them 6 miles in, 5 miles in,
Right.
and packing them out of my back. And so just to get away from the people and get that real experience back there. So, and I was the dumbass back then.
You were kind of doing it before it had really gotten cool.
Like, what the hell would you want to
Yeah.
go? What are you doing packing it 6 miles out on your fucking pack? You can go drive around, call them off the road, But yeah, I was the idiot back then.
Well, I think that's the thing is like you guys were doing this stuff before it was cool. Like you were doing it way before it was fucking cool. It was cool to you because you understood. How
How it made me feel. I mean, it
Yeah.
was just, it's rewarding.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And do you think it's like?
And you want to earn it. I mean, you don't want any of that shit to be that easy.
Well, I mean, I think that's
So.
the difference. Like, I get zero kicks out of like shooting an elk with a rifle. Like, and I'm not looking down on anybody that does
Right.
that, by the way. Like,
Mhm.
just as a caveat, it's shooting to me. It's not hunting. It's like it's spotting and shooting. Where I like the hunt now. Like it's like, it's fun, man. It's like it's a lot of work, and the harder the work, the better the hunt. Like for me,
Yep.
like that's just the way it works now because I'm like, this is super fun. And I was telling somebody about it because they're asking me. It's like some random person. They're asking me like, well, what's the deal or whatever. I'm like, so in my previous job, I used to tell people this all the time. Like I used to get the same type of adrenaline rush as like a bank robber because like I used to be able to go out and I'd survive every night. I was robbing a bank every night, sometimes 2 or 3. It was fucking cool. And I'm like, I get that same type of thing. It feels like, and I don't know what it's like to rob a bank, so like, don't anybody like post that like, oh, he's a bank robber now. Oh, he's the public company CEO. He's a bank robber. Like I can just imagine. Planning a heist because that's what you have to do. You got to plan it. You got to like.
It's a different adrenaline.
Yeah. Yeah. And like when you're planning a hunt and then, your stock, you're like, okay, I'm playing chess against all of these different things. And if I get away with it, the reward is fucking really cool. Like, you're packing the loot out of there. And by the way, you just got rewarded with a fuck ton more work. And, congratulations. Congratulations. Now the pain begins. Here comes the suffering.
Yeah.
And I was telling somebody, I was like, it's like robbing a bank. It's like you get in, you get out, like, holy shit, like I got it. And my wife for the first time, so this is her first elk hunt, and I mean she called it a fucking monster, like, but she's been training for 2 years. 2 years. She shoots almost every day. She's like shooting her bow almost, I would say 5 days a week.
She's committed.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Super committed. We got blocks in the backyard. She's like shoots from sitting, from kneeling, from like, all the different positions where she's, up and down, and she's at, 35 yards because that's the max that we got in our backyard. If I open the gate and expose my insanity to my neighbors, I get 60, but like that's the length out of it. But super committed. She's never done it before. So this is her first time, and it's fucking awesome to see the lights come on because she came back from her first night, like having close encounters with these things.
Yeah.
And she was like, to what you said at 15 years old, she's like, I will never not do this for the rest of my life. Like, this is the most amazing, one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in my life, hands down. And now I wish I would have trained more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Now I wish I
and
would've
now that
trained more.
she's got one,
Yep.
is she even more amped up?
Way more. Like, so going into it, because you have your imagination, and sometimes imagination either overcommits you and then you're like kind of let down, or undercommits and you're like, what the fuck? This is one of those moments where she's like, I had no idea. Like, this is like such an amazing experience. And you talk about not from like a, you know, a philosophical perspective, but I was getting into the philosophy of American hunting and why it's so ingrained into our culture and how important it is part from an American perspective, how uniquely American this is, especially archery, right? Where it's like you guys probably know more about the history of archery, but I was thinking about it and I was trying to put the pieces together about the history of archery hunting and hunting just in general in America. And the first settlers in we'll call it the 1600s, because I'm not that great or that accurate. We'll just call it 1600s. A lot of the settlers came here. They didn't know how to hunt.
Right.
They didn't know because they were tradesmen and they didn't know how to hunt necessarily. They knew how to maybe shoot a bow because they had previous war experience. So they knew how to use a sword, or they knew how to use a bow, and some of them knew how to hunt, but not really, because there was no such thing as public land.
Right.
It was all the king's land. It was all owned by someone else. And technically, if you took an animal, it was the king's property. So if you were harvesting, sometimes you were harvesting illegally. And if you harvested, there was always a kickback. So it wasn't their property. And if you did, you owed something back, you know, to the king. Yeah. So when they came here, and I thought this was like fucking fascinating. Like when they first came here, they were learning how to hunt with their Native American friends, basically,
right?
Because they were teaching them through trade and through, you know, as they were settling and moving, you know, through the East Coast, they would have to be trained essentially to survive in this new world that was the frontier at that point, where there were so many animals. They were like blown away by how many animals there were and how abundant, like, you know, berries and deer and elk and bear and all these crazy things that were like still technically on the East Coast. And I thought that was just like, it was fucking crazy for me to think about in the context of American history, how important hunting is and how uniquely American it is, because it's like part of our entire history of the last, you know, 400 years of how deeply ingrained into the development and the expansion of our country. I don't know what that rant is all about.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of, my wife reminds me of it every day. This is why we hunt. It's because we put meat in the freezer. We put food in the freezer. That's why we do it. And it's not because, I got this big set of antlers or whatever. It's important to her that we use the animal that we take too. So she gets caught up in, and I'm not really a trophy hunter, but I like to kill mature animals.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was going to go out with a rifle and shoot any bull, my hunt would be over in the first morning. Yep. Like that. It's a 2-hour hunt. It's done and over with. So, you know, I challenge myself with taking a mature bull every year. So I'll pass on several before I do it. But she kind of has a tough time with that concept too. Oh, you're a trophy hunter. I'm not. We eat the meat. We eat 2 elk a year. We go through it. I feed my family with it. But that's just part of the challenge for me.
You guys eat 2 elk a year? Really?
We do.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like
2 elk and 3 deer last year. Because I got kids.
Holy shit.
Yeah, my son shot an elk. I shot an elk. My daughter shot a deer. My son shot a deer. I shot a deer. So.
And now you were telling me last time, I think, you're like, because I was telling you I have to shoot a lot, you know, because I'm like, I got to get my reps in. You're like, I like shoot mine before season, like twice.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I've never done a 3D archery shoot.
No?
Never in my life.
Yeah.
No. I just like to hunt.
Yeah.
That's what the weapons were for. Is pick them up and go. I actually shoot more now.
Do you?
Yeah.
What do you shoot now?
What's that?
What's your setup look like?
So I have it's a Hoyt carbon element. That's probably 15.
I like how
12.
you're looking at him. You don't even...
Well, yeah, dude, it was given to me.
Yeah.
It's an old bow. And yeah.
And are you shooting
it works.
Are you shooting the wrist strap or like a?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a like a caliper type
Yeah,
release.
yeah.
I don't even know what
don't
release I
know.
have right now.
Yeah,
I
that's fair.
broke one last year, so I had to buy a new one. I think it's a Scott or something release, but
And like, do you guys like? I'm not like super fascinated by it, but I am like interested because everybody has an opinion on fixed blade or mechanical blade or like. So, give me your down and dirty, both of you separately, as to like what is your like philosophy?
yeah. I'll talk first because I'll be really short. I've never had experience with mechanicals.
Okay.
Always shot fixed blade.
Mhm.
You mentioned Thunderhead. I shot those for forever because you could go to Walmart and buy them
Right.
for a 6-pack for $12. You know, if you waited to buy them in November, that's why I shot them. They worked. I actually killed 3 elk with the same broadhead
Nice.
year after year. So they worked. And I've always been on the fixed blades, but they haven't. The mechanicals haven't been legal in where we live. So
Got it.
until this year, right? So
Yep.
So yeah, I really don't have any
Idaho
experience.
This is their first year.
Finally, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
don't have any experience with the mechanicals. So
Right.
yeah, I don't really have an opinion.
What about
there,
like I've heard this like debate,
So I need
but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if there's a debate, which is like, is there a 3 or 4 blade? Like, do you get into the nuances of the details on that?
We were talking about this last night
Okay.
because you want a broadhead that leaves you good blood trails so you can recover the animal. And I shoot a 3 blade now. Shot a 2 blade last year and the year before, but I think it all depends on kind of where you hit them in the shot because you have experience with 4 blades where they just didn't bleed.
Yeah, I've shot.
Last night that elk didn't bleed. It didn't go very far, but there was no blood trail.
Right.
So I think it's more of just luck as far as where you hit that animal and how they bleed.
Right.
Because it was a good shot, fatal shot. That thing died probably in stride at 50 yards.
Yeah.
Wow.
Went nowhere.
Right. And between the two of you, add them up. How many elk have you killed?
I don't usually tell.
Okay.
I don't
You don't
count,
kiss and
so
tell.
I don't
I don't
know.
kiss
You
and
don't
tell.
kill and tell.
Hey, I'm
But every season for 30 years.
For 33 years, some years I missed killing elk. Like last year, I didn't kill an elk. And some years I've killed 2. So you just kind of depends on, but it all adds up. But I don't usually kiss and tell.
Yeah, I got you.
But,
I don't keep track.
So there's a lot of animals on the ground between the two of you.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say this: Mark is probably one of the best elk hunters I know.
Okay.
If not the
So
best elk
that's
hunter I know.
that's a serious
after Dirk.
That is a serious
Right.
accusation.
No,
that's
Mark's got way more bigger horns than me. I mean, he's killed a
so
lot of stuff.
What do you guys think about? No, before I get into that, what's your setup? What are you using?
Okay, so my opinion on I'm a fixed blade guy.
Okay.
I have opinion. I've never used mechanicals, but I have an opinion.
Right.
The more I'm not a gimmick guy or a gadget guy
Yeah.
per se. The more little things that have to function flawlessly to accomplish a job lives more opportunity for failure.
Right.
I look at my truck. I got a Chevy truck out there. It's got electric windows. My dad always said, them stupid electric windows. You just need the kind that the hand roller kind, because those hand roller ones, they work pretty damn good. They don't usually fail. One of my switches in my Chevy truck, it failed. Right? Got to get another one. I feel like there's always that opportunity with a expandable to fail. I'm not sure about penetration, and I think.
Well, what do you use? 3 or 4?
Right now I'm using a 2 blade.
Okay.
With 2 little bleeder blades.
Right.
First year for shooting those.
What are you using?
Iron wheel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was using.
The single bevel.
Yeah, same.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like those. They fly really well too.
Fly good.
Yeah.
I've used some other 2 blades in the past. I've shot 3 or 4 elk with them things.
Right.
I wasn't real impressed with the blood trail on those others. Killed them, and I found the bulls. But it wasn't like a crime scene. It didn't leave a blood trail Stevie Wonder could follow, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, it was they're okay,
Right.
3 blade, shot a lot of elk with 3 blade. Those things work great.
Yeah.
They're not all the same though. There's some 3 blade brands I've shot that I just didn't like. They just didn't cut that good. Others were really great. I've shot 4 blade. Now, if you want to get digging the weeds a little bit,
I like the weeds because this has been a debate. I haven't participated in it because I have no knowledge to actively participate in it. But
I've had 3 limb deflections on elk
uh-huh.
over the years. Okay, 2 of those were on 4-blade.
Okay,
the same year,
right?
The same head, and then I shot a big bull, really big bull with that 4-blade, and I thought it's gonna open him up like a can of worms, right? No, not really. It didn't really bleed that much.
Really?
He died within sight, and if he wouldn't have, I would have had a really tough trail, So, yeah, and it, like Mark said, it does depend on where you shoot them, where you hit them. But I've like those single or the 2-blade or whatever. I've shot some pretty good shots with those, like right through the heart.
Yeah,
and it just didn't bleed that good. So. But these new ones, the single bevels, they get when you shot them into a target, right?
Oh, yeah.
They mess up a target.
Yeah.
And as they go in, they spin or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they're more prone to put a bigger hole in than normal 2-blade.
Yeah.
But that bull I shot last night, I hit him kind of in the shoulder.
Right.
In that meat. No, now think of shoulder position. If your shoulder is moved forward or backward and you hit it in that shoulder muscle, and then the shoulder moves, all of a sudden it seals up.
Right. Yep.
The wound hole channel, right?
Yep.
So you're not going to get a lot of blood out of it.
Right.
The exit hole had a bunch of blood, kinda, but it was high enough, so I was shooting from downhill.
Yeah.
And the exit hole kind of was higher in the body. If you draw a straight line through the center line of the elk, it was above that center line.
Okay.
Well, if you hit them above that center line, they bleed internally more. You don't get a really great blood trail compared to like if it's below that center line.
Right.
Gravity keeps the blood inside the casing. So
yeah, that's interesting. I haven't thought about it in those circumstances because what the debate started between a couple of us, and it wasn't a debate, it was a conversation where because you have increased surface area based on, we'll call it 4 blades.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, the entry and exit should be bigger based on 4 versus 2.
Right.
And the debate's like, well, but if you have a mechanical that expands to, full length at 2 inches or whatever, that, inch and a half. And so, of course, I'm thinking about cavitation and ballistics, and I'm looking at it from, a rounds perspective. And I'm like, it is all about shot placement. So it doesn't, the bigger the bullet, obviously, you're going to have more cavitation because it's a physics equation. That's all it is. It's mass times velocity equals basically cavitation. That's what it is. And so, if you have a rapidly expanding bullet and it creates more mass or surface area with a high velocity, it creates a fucking massive, huge wound channel.
Right.
So I was like, well, I can wrap my head around the 4-blade because obviously you have more surface area for the 4 blades.
Right. But
then I don't know how the 4 blades is reacting inside the animal versus the 2-blade, to your point. So if it's rotating in and it's having at least more damage done based on how its flight and what the ballistic characteristics are in and then maybe post, then it's obviously going to affect the wound channel and then how fast or whatever it might be as far as like the
I think you brought up a good point with the big bullet and the velocity too.
Right.
I mean, how far are we shooting?
Yep.
What's the velocity of the arrow? What's the weight of the arrow behind the broadhead? I mean, there's so many factors that come into play.
Right.
Not just the surface area. I would imagine if you're shooting 300 feet per second and you shoot everything at 15 yards, that 4-blade would be detrimental.
Yeah.
But maybe when that arrow slows down, somebody's shooting 60, 70, 80 yards, it's different. Maybe you're better off having a 2-blade. I don't know, but I think it just depends on how far you're shooting. The weight of the arrow.
Yeah.
The weight, your draw weight of your bow. It's
You
kind of
can
like
get
bullets.
arrow-
Different bullets do very good at high velocity. At slow velocity, they're junk.
Yeah.
And some are the opposite. They open up better at slow velocities. A lot of people use, like the Match King type bullets for long range, big 300 grain bullets. Lobbing them in there, they're slowing way down at 2,000 feet per second, the bullets perform very well.
Right.
And if you shoot them at high velocities and something, they're just going to explode. So,
Do you think that there's a difference? Because I've also been hearing this, like aluminum versus carbon, and like are you guys that far down the rabbit hole in any of these discussions? Which I'm sure you're looking at them, or at least like somewhat hearing them, as far as wound channel, devastation, speed of the arrow. Like, do you buy into it, or do you?
Well, I will say this, like, because I shot a lot of aluminum arrows back in the day, right? And I didn't get a lot of pass-throughs.
Yeah.
But man, with that arrow, that aluminum arrow and that broadhead lodged in the cavity, when them things are running, it fucks shit up, right? It's in there turning. It's creating more damage on those lungs. So I'm not I mean, this is a little weird, but I'm not 100% sure it's always better to have a pass-through. It's good to have two holes for the blood to leak out of, but I feel like if your arrow's exiting and not staying in there, doing circles in the lungs as he runs off with, and everything's moving, you may be causing more damage by leaving it in.
No, I like that. I like that take. What's your take?
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Especially if you put the shot where it needs to be, right behind the shoulder,
Yeah.
and the thing's running. I mean, he's
his shoulder is like it's probably going to break off.
Yeah.
And it'll kind of like, and it'll just sit there and like jiggle that arrow back and forth, shredding his lungs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like that. Because I haven't actually heard that perspective. Do you guys have an opinion on number of fletchings and size?
I've shot 4 fletch one year. I didn't like them because they're heavy, putting a lot of weight on the backside of the arrow.
Yeah.
I like a 3
Okay.
3
That's
fletch.
all I've ever shot.
Yeah,
3
3.
fletched vanes. Yep.
And what are you shooting now for arrows?
Shit, you had to ask.
Aluminum or carbon?
They're carbon.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are you shooting carbon or
Carbon, yeah. And I've been doing my own fletching.
Yeah.
I use like one of those Arizona Easy Fletch.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a really aggressive right hand helical.
Yeah.
And man, that thing, especially with those single bevel broadheads, that thing's got a lot of spin going on as it's going through. So that was the theory. They shoot good. They shoot fine. I can't say that they shot any better than anything else I've shot as far as accuracy. But I'm not some professional shooter. I can shoot good enough to kill an elk, but I'm not going to win any contests.
What's your max length? Like what are you putting them in at? And then what's your shot limit?
For hunting, I'm probably going to try to keep it at 40 or less.
Okay.
I had a really big bull last night at 60 dead to rights. I don't have a 60 pin. I could have put it right on the hump, and it would have dropped right in where it needed to. But it was late. It's getting dark, and I'm like, this hunt has been so good so far. I just don't want to taint it with a bad hit.
Yeah, okay.
And then have it turn bad, So I'm like, no, I'm not going to shoot.
Right.
So, and that's all personal preference. But right now, where I can practice in my yard, I can shoot 25 yards.
Yeah.
I go down to the range, I can shoot out to however far I want. Back when
what are you shooting for bow?
It's a PSE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you a bow tech guy for a while? No, it's always been PSE.
PSE in 2019. I used Prime before that.
Oh, that's
for a
right.
few
Prime.
years.
Yeah, that's right. So, in which one are you shooting?
Well, I've got a couple.
Yeah.
I've got the new XF 33.
Yeah.
XF 33.
Yep.
And then I got a new super secret one I can't talk about.
Oh, okay. All right.
But you'll see it on
carbon?
the video. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super badass.
Is it badass?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I love those things. Like, I've shot Hoyt, PSE, like I don't know how many other, but I mean, I had 2 aggressive cam on. I had the PSE with like it's got a really smaller aggressive cam. I forget exactly which one it is. With in the back wall was like I couldn't really move around even back here. It was like moving forward on me, and it was too much. Like I was like, it's not too much in the context of like it's too much weight or whatever. I was just like, this thing is fucking like kind of like riding a bull. You're like, Jesus Christ, man! Like fucking calm down.
Right.
What are you doing, dude? Like, why
That's
are you
the
so
biggest.
aggressive?
That's the biggest complaint I have about mine is I got to pull hard against the wall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. There's no letting off against that wall.
And target
I gotta
guys
hold.
love that though.
Yeah.
Target guys love that.
Yeah.
Well, that was their philosophy,
Mhm.
and I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not
it-
into that.
It's nice if you got a bull, you can draw early, you can hold it back. You know, it's got that nice little low spot where you can hold it.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that.
Yeah.
Not something that's wanting to pull it back out of your hands. You know?
I-
Gives
well,
you.
and I end up being back here, like and I've only killed, or well, I've shot it a lot more, but I'm like, 3. So I'm like not, but but I end up being back here for longer than. Well, you just have to plan on it. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just have to plan on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, and somebody was telling me, which I didn't understand this until later, but there's let off limits based on state.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Like that's a new thing that I was like completely exposed to.
Yeah,
Is
Idaho
this
was
like
like
common
65
knowledge?
forever.
It was
And-
65 forever.
Forever.
Idaho.
And they didn't hardly manufacture a bow that was 65
Right.
even
Yeah.
later on. You know, they were all 80.
So
Everything's
why-
rated 80.
That was a question I had for you guys. So what is the philosophy, or do you know the philosophy behind that? Like why is there a let off limit? Are they saying it's more sporting, or is it a more sporting chance?
I think it's just them putting that limit on technology. You know what I'm saying? Putting the benefit,
Yeah.
even though, you know, in our opinion, I mean, we know bows will only shoot so fast,
Right.
but if you can keep a guy rested for his shot, and you can, I mean, you just when you let people go to the 85% or 80% let off, you're going to get a better shot out of it, especially if they're holding it longer or whatever. So why not let that high percentage shot happen?
Right.
Why limit these people out there to being tired and throwing out a bad shot? I mean, you know,
Right.
the ethics of me is, you know, any of those little advancements, let them go, because people are going to take their elk home and not wound them, or you know, it's just
right.
better chance of wounding them.
You know, and I think back in the day, I think the trad community had a pretty, traditional archery community had a pretty good voice, in a lot of law setting.
Oh, okay.
I would assume.
Right.
You hear grumblings, it's like, oh, well, you guys can't have too much let off or whatever, because a trad bow has no let off.
Right.
So
It's compounding interest.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
So I think there probably was some of that kind of talk at the table too.
Yeah.
We want to make this fair
Right.
for everybody. Just like we kind of touched on it just for a second about the expandables just being legal in Idaho. I mean,
Yeah.
Idaho's the last state to legalize mechanical broadheads and lighted nocks.
See, I knew the lighted Knox thing because I'd heard that, but I didn't realize the mechanical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But the guys that can pick up a trad bow and do that, my hat's off to them.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I tried it.
Wait,
I'm,
so
I'm
would
horrible. I
would you
suck
guys
at it.
classify yourself as trad curious?
Yeah. We are actually. Mark and I had a bet.
We
here a
did.
couple years
Yeah,
ago.
we actually shot together for a while, and then you hurt your shoulder. I hurt my ankle, and went to hell. We were talking about the other day. We're like, we're gonna have to pick them things back up,
Yeah.
and
Have you guys seen
it's
that?
kind of on the bucket list,
Have you guys seen that
taking
dude?
out
What is it? Solway Archery, the guy that builds.
I've heard of it.
Quivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one. It's got my logo on it.
Yeah, I
Oh,
got
that's
one of
right.
those too, man.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
They're
Like,
badass,
they're
yeah.
super badass. Where's he at? Is he like Cami Arkuski or something? Like
I think that they sold and moved into Montana or
that? What
somewhere.
the fuck?
Yeah.
How can you, well,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. You guys are awesome. If you're
Yeah.
listening, or if you guys,
Yeah,
listen,
like
they're
I
awesome.
think they used to be.
They're
located
Kuski
in
or
Idaho.
Cami, right?
Used to be, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they've moved or something. But
I got one. I love shooting the trad bow, dude.
I do
Like,
too.
I
It's so fun.
love it. Like,
It's fun.
it's.
I'm
fun.
just shitty at it.
I'm super shitty.
God.
Like, I love sucking at stuff.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
I suck at everything.
But,
It's awesome.
and I got to be confident, or else I'm not going to take it out and
Yeah.
fling an arrow at an animal. But yeah, I got to have a big ass target at 20 yards,
dude.
or I'm going to be losing shit.
Like I went out and I did this spot and stock pig hunt and it's really difficult. Like, have you guys ever done a spot
No.
and stock pig hunt? Dude, it's brutal. It's so like getting into archery. John Dudley took me on. I was like, all right, so what you need to do is like, you got to go on a couple of these hunts, and you got to go on like some coal hunts, and you got to go do this like spot and stock pigs. And I walked I don't know, 70 miles in 5 days or something like that to shoot one pig.
Wow.
Yeah.
With
It's
a trad
horrible.
bow.
With my PSE.
Oh yeah.
But that was the first thing I ever shot because he's like, well, you got to learn how to hunt. You got to learn
Right.
how to do this
Move
whole thing.
and,
Yeah.
anticipate.
And it was really good. Like as far as because
Yeah.
they've got really good eyesight, they've got really good hearing, they've got really good noses, so they're fucking keyed on. And if you can kill one, you kind of got your shit together.
Got your shit
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, and you got to earn it.
I've never killed an elk at over 25 yards
Really?
with my bow. No.
Holy shit!
And that was always my mindset, to learn how to hunt,
Right.
And don't let your shooting ability at 60, 70 yards overshadow your hunting ability.
Right.
So I always wanted to just get close and personal. So my limit was always 30 yards or less.
Right.
I can shoot 60 at a target, fine.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I want to get close. I want to shoot them close, and then maybe it's my own weird mindset, but I want to be 20 yards.
It takes discipline. Like you're in patience and discipline. Like I'll commend you for that. Like I didn't realize that I stepped into a shit mess a few years ago because I killed the elk at 94, and I don't understand. Right. I'm
Right.
kind of like an ignorant asshole.
But
at
you
times,
did it.
where I'm like
Yeah, I mean,
I put in the best stock
Yeah.
I could. I got as close as I could, and I was like,
were you here?
No, I was
Oh,
out
okay.
I was down in Colorado,
Oh,
and they were out in this meadow. They had a big herd out in this meadow, and the only way you could get out close to the herd was the fucking low crawl, and there was like
Yeah.
one little piece of ground that was like 8 inches higher than the rest of this shit. And I crawled out to that, and that was as close as I was going to get. It was the last day of the hunt, and I was like, I can hit a pie plate at 110, one pretty consistently. So
Mhm.
90 wasn't like. I just shot my bow literally out to 100, and I was like, and I hit like 10 out of 10 on a pie plate. So I was like, fucking pie plate at 100.
yeah.
I can hit it fucking. I can
can't
double
do
lung that motherfucker
Yeah.
at 94. Like I know I can. I didn't understand, and this is how stupid I was at that point, where I didn't understand it was such a hot topic because I was like, fucking 94. I
just
shoot
shot
this
him.
all the time, And
If you can do it, more power to you, man.
yeah, I don't do it anymore.
I'll tell you what though. This is like where we're at here.
Yeah,
Man, it's tough to get them close.
is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of
The,
brushy.
and the wind
Yeah.
seems
The
always
wind.
blowing squares
Wind.
here.
the
yeah,
wind is
it's-
really
Because you got these
funky.
draws, and it does weird. The
We were-
wind does
I
all
was-
kinds of weird shit.
I was in Utah with my dad back in like 08. He had a Wasatch tag,
Oh, nice.
and the fucking wind blew in squares. Like it was frustrating as hell. And it was totally different than what we're used to there. We're hunting thick country, so
Yeah.
20 like those elk have to come in 20 yards to see you anyway,
Right.
or to even get a shot most of the time.
Yeah.
But here it was more open. The wind blows in squares. Jesus, you gotta sharpen your archery skills and extend that range if you want to be consistently successful.
Well, and I don't do it anymore. Like I learned my lesson. I'm like, okay, internet, like you're mean to me today.
Now I know.
Now I know. You got it. Lesson learned.
Yeah.
You'll be mean to me next week too. It doesn't really matter to me all that much. I put a limit on it because I realized I was cheating. So I was compensating for my hunting skills with shooting skills, and that's kind of defeating the whole purpose of what I'm trying to accomplish. And I'm not being patient and working as hard as I needed to work in order to get as close as I could. I was frustrated. My first year, like, I was just really fucking frustrated, like, because I couldn't get close to anything. I was bumping them out, and like in these canyons, the wind does weird shit. Like
Yeah.
you're talking about, it's like moving around, or it was just really fucking frustrating. Where I think I was compensating for distance, but I mean, this year, like, as far as like the years progressing, every year I've been able to like get in close and every year, like get closer and stay in closer. And
Yeah.
like this year, I was in and around elk all the time, like 7 yards, just trying to get shots.
Yeah.
And you know, or I got in on one herd looking for the bull, and I mean, it was like 7 to, you know, the main herd was all like cows and calves and spikes. And I was just trying to find the bull and I couldn't find it, but the closest cow was fucking 7 yards, and there was like, they're all, and you're just kind of like trying to figure it out, like, okay, where's he at? Because I know he's coming, or is he coming, or where's he coming in from, or the whole thing is just, you know, are these guys going to win me, or are they not, or like, are they going to see me, or are they going to fucking lick my face? I don't know. And but every year, like, progressively better. I think that's the one thing, like, I love about this, which
I think it's just learning what you can kind of get away with.
Yeah.
Out there. You know what I'm saying? You'll have to watch some of the videos on his phone from last weekend.
Did you get away with a lot?
Yeah. Oh shit!
Oh,
I was telling you,
Seriously?
Oh yeah.
Stand out in the middle of a freaking hillside, nothing, and just finally a bull came up 20 yards or whatever before it even noticed. What the hell's that? You know, and it would have been too late if I'd have wanted to shoot him. I could have, but
Right.
you know, I drew on him. But yeah,
What do you guys think of this? Like, what do you guys think of this new? Because I don't know if it's accurate or not, but it feels like archery's gotten cool.
Yeah.
Is it? You think it's like the Joe Rogan effect? Is that what's driving it, or is it like Cam and Joe and everybody that's like? What do you guys think of it?
Yeah, I think those guys make it more popular. Definitely,
Yeah.
They're getting the message out and how cool it is
Right.
to a larger audience. Definitely, but it was kind of headed that way even in the mid 2000s. I think it was just getting, you know, kind of building steam.
Right.
yeah, and I think it just took getting people into it and out there once, and they're hooked. I mean, we didn't have all those influences,
No.
you know,
social cool
social
influencer
media, all that stuff
Posting
growing up.
cool
But
videos,
you know, once we got the taste of it, that's there for life. And I think that's these people just are lucky enough. The new guys that are trying it and getting involved are lucky enough to hear those stories before they even try it. And then once they try it, it's just like us, I think.
I like it because for guys like me, and you know, for guys like you, for guys like me, where it's like, you know, we can have this like really cool skill exchange where it's like, you guys know this shit. Guys like me, I really don't. I'm kind of ignorant in that context. But like, you know, you transition, you know, out of the GWAT, and you know, a lot of guys, they're searching for a mission. They're really searching for something else that's passionate and where they can connect in and be, you know, driven. And I'm like, you got to shoot a bow. And that's kind of like where I put him first. It's like, you got to shoot a bow. Oh yeah, why? Because it's like, well, it can't be like hunting people or whatever they fucking say, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, man, it's cool. It's actually a lot cooler because you have these like really, without sounding too lame, but you have these fucking super intimate encounters with these incredible animals all the fucking time. You know, when you're, you know, I was out there with another guy, and he was on the final leg of his stock, and he's like 40 yards away from the bull that he wants to kill, and a sow and 2 cubs ran right in between him, like right in between him, like,
Jeez.
not like, you know, he was like 15 yards away from a sow and 2 cubs in between the bull that he was moving in on to kill. When in the fuck are you ever going to have an experience like that unless you're putting yourself in that exact position to have such an incredible experience in nature, which, I mean, that sounds kind of lame too, but it's amazing. It's an amazing experience.
Right.
And in today's world, everybody's got these. All the kids have these, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's getting my kids out there, just the conversations we have. There's no self-service, so they can't stare at that thing. They have to open up and talk, and we're out there, build a fire, you know, eat. That's just priceless stuff. Yeah. You know, that's just priceless stuff. So for people, I think it's a great family thing. I think it's going to bring you and your kids and your family a lot closer, friends, whoever, when you get into this and go out and do it. So you got to put the electronics down. You got to find something other than what's on here.
1,000%. Like, the phone is the easiest device to connect you and disconnect you from society,
Mhm.
right? It's
Yep.
like if it's used improperly, and my wife and I are really strict that like we don't even let our kids literally tune in unless they're like traveling or something with us, and then it's like it's more for us than it is for them. But same thing, like my wife and I, you know, going out together hunting.
Yeah.
You know, we're in the field, we're in the mountains, we're doing mountain shit.
Mm-hmm. It's priceless, man.
It is a completely connected, and I think there's something in your DNA. If you're a carnivore, I mean, to each their own, but I mean, fucking meat is awesome. But like, I also think there's an ethical responsibility from a carnivore's perspective to know where and how the carnage of your food, where it comes from, like, and what does it look like
Mm-hmm.
to see an animal die? What does it look like to, you know, go out and dress it and, you know, pull it apart? Because what it does is I think, when you go to the grocery store, you realize like the meat there came from something that was in, you know, a commercial operation where something is fed, you know, corn and all the other things that it's fed, and then bolts run through its fucking head, and it's like zipped out and boiled and put through a process, and then it's put in a package.
Right.
Whereas like if you hunt an animal and kill it, and you like run the knife through it, and you pull it apart, and then, you know, its skin is your rug, and its bones, you know, or, you know, I take the bones and give them to the dogs around the office, and like we use the marrow, and like we use a lot of it because it's fucking useful.
Yeah.
And it's delicious, but it makes you really appreciate where your food is coming from. Like,
It does.
and there's nothing more special, and there's nothing that tastes better than an animal you worked really fucking hard for, and you share it with your family.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I do it all myself. So
You
when
do
I
it.
work, I'll work them up. I usually debone them out in the field.
Yeah.
And then when I come home, I'll sit there by myself at the kitchen table, and I'll cut every steak, wrap, separate out what I'm going to grind, go grind it. Like, I do all that myself. It's important to me.
Yeah.
I just like to do that. Yeah.
And do you cook too?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love to
So
cook.
You're like
Full
going through
circle.
recipes and cooking. Or do you cook too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually cook the steak at my house, whether it's elk steak or whatever, deer steak, whatever.
I made these badass tacos we took to hunting camp last time. I wish
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
had some left over.
They're so good.
Yeah. So I do that before hunting season. Every year is I'll cook up a bunch of elk burger and make tacos, freeze them. And that's
You
other
freeze
than
the
a mountain
tacos?
house every once in a while. Freeze them.
Oh
Yeah.
okay.
You just throw them in your you throw them in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
pack or whatever
Yeah.
and eat them cold out on the hill. They're good. Or throw them on the barbecue at camp, warm them up, whatever.
I find it's like super intimate, like with your meat. I mean, I don't want to
Yeah.
get too,
It's super
you know,
intimate with
kumbaya.
our meat, Derek.
I'm sharing a room
We're
with this
gonna
guy.
get intimate with our meat.
Write that down. But like you talked about the grocery store, I mean,
Yeah.
that you're taking home a faceless
Thank you.
There's no
nourishment. There's nothing intimate about it.
Nope.
And you know, you kind of touched on the whole trophy hunting thing that your wife kind of accused you of, but I feel like what people don't understand when we put an elk's head or a deer's antlers or whatever on the wall, they think, oh, we're just showing off our prize or trophy.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm immortalizing that animal.
Yep.
I have such reverence, so much respect. I'm going to look at that every day of my life and enjoy that intimate moment that animal and I had together.
Yep.
I'm going to think about the meat. Every time we open a package of steak, like, oh yeah, that's from 2021 or 2022.
Yeah.
And be like, oh yeah. My wife's like, oh, so-and-so wanted to borrow a package of meat. I'm like, I packed that entire elk out. I made 3 trips to pack it out on my back.
Maybe for $100 bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, they can have one package, right?
Right.
But it's like that connection and the value we put on it as hunters. And I don't think the public that doesn't hunt, they don't understand that. And you know, the anti-hunting people don't understand it either, but they don't want anybody to understand that. I have nothing wrong with people eating grocery store meat either. I mean, it's good stuff, but to a degree. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff they put in meat these days.
Yeah, it's super weird.
But it's a faceless.
Yes.
It's a faceless nourishment. Whereas what we kill, we know where it came from.
Well, and I think that it's, it's more fulfilling all the way around, right? I think that it's more nutrient just in general. I think that it's more fulfilling. It's more connecting. Like it's more bonding. All of those things that are really meaningful in a life that is so vapid and shallow in the image of our phones where we're connected but we're not. It's like people are in this. They're searching for meaning, but it's right. It's right in front of you. In the context of, I killed a chicken in our backyard the other day or last year or whenever it was, because it was like, we found out we had a rooster instead of a regular chicken. And I was like, well, it's eat the chicken. What? You ate the chicken? You killed the
Your pet chicken?
Well, it's not my pet. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's a fucking chicken.
It's a chicken.
Yeah. It's a chicken.
It doesn't have a soul.
No, and I think,
he had a great life in the backyard.
He had a fucking great life. Like my kids were running around with him. Like he was like being a fucking idiot, but I think as we're like disconnected and then also connected, finding all of these different pieces that we have to put back together in the context of this highly commercialized and processed. And don't get me wrong, I eat steak just like anybody else, but it's not as meaningful as this. And I think there's a lot of people out there as they're like looking at this and they're like, they're romanticizing it too, right? They're listening to like, Rogan or Cam or somebody on, talking about archery and how romantic and beautiful it is. And it's like, yeah, man, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And it takes a lot of fucking discipline, and it takes a lot, like throughout the year. Producer Derek sitting here, and he's like sitting on that, like, we have an archery range at our
legs
office.
Asleep.
We have an archery range at our office. Like, how many guys are shooting at the archery range per week?
Probably about like 15, 20.
Yeah. We have like
That's
15,
awesome.
20 people
That's awesome.
shooting at the range at the Black Rifle Coffee office all the time. So you're thinking about your meat and where you're going to get your food, and you're training to go get your food, or at least part of your diet.
That's like lunch break. People go out on lunch break.
Yeah, and they shoot bows.
They
shoot in the mornings, or like I'll come in on the weekends and shoot on the weekends. And we have a gym and an archery range, because I'm like, hey man, like you got to be committed to this entire fucking process, where it's like stay fit, shoot your bow, go to the tax. Like we sponsor all the Total Archery Challenge events, because I'm like, it's a commitment. But I'm trying to like give those through lines to people where they can be deeper connected than just, this is my fucking package of meat and I'm going to throw it in my shopping cart and drive home and, never think about it. The other thing is, I don't want my kids to think it's that easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that unless you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you have no fucking place in the discussion of hunting.
Right.
You don't have it. You don't have
Right.
a voice. I don't give a fuck what you have to say. Like if you're that committed where you don't eat animals, that's fucking rad. You have your own voice. But if you're a carnivore and you're anti-hunting, you're a hypocrite. So you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like,
yep.
Like if you're a hypocrite, piss off. I don't want to hear from you.
Yep. And those carnivores that are anti-hunting, they should give them all a tour of the stockyards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watch
This is
watch
what
that
you're
shit.
eating. Yeah. This is ethical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keeping animals in pens and then fucking run and bolt through their head.
Yeah. Slit their throat.
Yeah.
Whatever they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think they also, because they haven't like the other romanticized like propaganda that's out there is like, these animals are beautiful and majestic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get me wrong, they're amazing,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't cause harm to each other either, right? They all, like the wolf is like riding on the back of the elk that jumps the rainbow and fucking kisses the unicorn or whatever the fuck they think that nature is. And it's like so disconnected from reality.
I have no idea.
Gruesome, man.
Dude, it's gruesome, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Fuck yeah, it is.
I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was telling me about a bull that they shot a few years ago, and he shot this bull, and he was like, it kind of acted strange as they were moving in on it, but it was like a fucking monster. And he's like, well, fucking double lung, walked like 10 yards and just knocked over, like 10 yards, and was like keeled over. They came up on it and they realized that the esophagus had been sliced open in a fight, and and so the bottom of it, like right before that, so probably no less than a few hours before that, the bottom portion of his neck had been sliced open, and there was a hole in his esophagus. And so he was bleeding out down his chest because they were like, where did this arrow come out? Like they were trying to figure out, like, where's this blood and why is this blood? So it's bleeding down his chest. He had an esophagus ripped open partly.
From another bull.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And we were discussing it because we were like, this misrepresentation of facts and how beautiful these animals are. And they just don't inflict harm on each other. It's like, no, man, they're trying to fucking kill each other. Like, they're trying to like do their best to like kill them. Like that's what they want to do. And this animal would have had like a horrible, excruciatingly difficult death. Yeah. It's like part of it was punctured, not the whole thing. So everything was spilling out. So he's drinking a bunch of water and it's like spilling out his esophagus. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Like crazy.
Yeah.
And like, you know, being eviscerated and like, you know, chunks of antler being embedded in him. And they've like found all this stuff where you're like, they're hardy, robust animals, but they're also, when they die in a violent fight, like it's fucking carnage, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a peaceful death.
No. Well, nature's not peaceful.
No.
I don't know what what is this like Bambi propaganda that people are like fed as children, where they're like, if they walk out into the woods, like that's what I was alluding to earlier, where it's like a wolf and a bear and a moose, they're all friends, they're living in a fucking cave and reading bedtime stories to each other, and you're like, dude, that bear would fucking eat the calf in front of the mother, and then try to go. Like,
nature's crazy. I mean,
crazy.
Even like fawns and stuff, we'll find them around the house. We live out of town.
Oh yeah.
Deer will have the fawns, and the damn crows will come peck the eyes out of the fawns. I mean, just so they die, and then they get to eat the fawns. I mean, so it's not just the coyotes and the wolves or whatever. Everything's after those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about bears and how when the calves drop, there's a I guess a increase in population in black bears, and how they're just like cruising through, just like
eating calves.
Oh man, this is good. It's like those Cadbury eggs in Easter. It's like
my favorite time of year.
My favorite time of year.
They did a study.
We're fat as fuck on these things. These are delicious.
They did a study at one point in time in the Selway River, and they figured 80% of all elk calves were killed by bear.
Holy shit!
80%. Yep.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
Now, with the introduction of wolves, which you guys were pro introduction to wolf, and you still are, right? You guys really like. Introduction. Of wolves.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Sarcasm.
Yeah. That was a great thing.
It was a great thing for the elk population in Idaho, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You watched the video about Yellowstone, right? The beavers came back and the willows grew again, and
they did.
You know,
the banks regenerated.
Like, nobody planted willows and nobody put new beavers there. I mean, they just spontaneously grew.
They did. Yeah. So you guys probably are better at the numbers than I am. Like, what has it done? What is the introduction of wolves back into the Idaho, Montana? What has it done to the elk population? Like numbers wise, do you know?
Devastated.
Devastated.
I would say in the backcountry of Idaho and the units that I'm familiar with, that it cut the elk population by 80%.
Fucking.
Oh yeah.
80%.
Yep. And it took it a while because we seen they introduced them, I think, in like 96, 95, 96.
Yeah. Well, I remember because my buddy in college, he was part of that, and that was 97 when we were at U of I.
Yeah.
And he was working on it, and they had 12. So I remember because he's my roommate. Yeah. They had 12.
Yeah, I know a guy that actually was down there on the North Fork.
Yeah.
In like 96 and saw the choppers. They had closed the North Fork off and had choppers coming in, planting the wolves down on the North Fork. Happened to be one of the worst winters in decades for the elk.
Yep.
And here they are dropping wolves. Yep, right in on it. So it was one of the worst winter kills at that time. And they're dropping wolves anyway. But what we've seen is the elk population actually came back from like 96 into the early 2000s, but the wolf population was continued to grow. We started seeing sign everywhere, you know, come early 2000s. 2007, we had a really bad, and I knew it was going to happen. The elk population was actually pretty darn good, but we'd had easy winters.
Right.
So the elk were able to, you know, live and avoid too much, being devastated too much until 2007. We had a really heavy winter that year, and there was dead elk everywhere, bones everywhere. The
Really?
wolves had just come in and had a huge feast that winter. After that, man, it was, I can remember having one of the best hunting seasons ever to not being able to find an elk for like a couple of years.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it just wiped them out. And I knew it would. I knew the first bad winter we had that the wolves were just going to have a heyday. And they did.
And then
So,
that heyday turned into more puppies and those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a. So where is it at? Population? Are you seeing? Do you see a lot of wolves when you're out?
I see wolf sign.
Yeah.
My dad tends to run into them a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a wolf magnet, isn't he?
He's a wolf magnet.
Is
Noisy.
he looking for him?
No.
No, he
just runs into him. He's, you know, he's 70 something. He can't hear very well. He's, you know, noisy walking, and he just happens to walk up on him.
Wow.
But
That's wild.
But we see sign everywhere. But you know, now they allow people to trap. They allow people
Right.
to shoot them, and so there's
Is
a
it
lot
putting
of good
an impact-
trappers.
Is it putting an impact? on
It
their
seems
population?
to. It
Yeah.
seems to. Yep. The wolf population is, you know, kept at bay a little bit, and the elk seem to be doing a little bit better than they have been.
They
It's
do?
definitely not back to
Right.
to what I remember it being, you know, back in the 90s or 80s even. But,
No, I remember in the 90s, I was up in Cook Mountain. You remember that? You know,
Mhm.
that's at, and I remember looking at like the entire side of a mountain was like elk.
Yeah.
Like the entire
Yeah.
side. I mean, it had to be 200 elk.
Yeah.
Like they had to combine, I don't know how many herds, but there was like, it's fucking 200 elk easily. I remember it distinctly. It was like, the whole thing was like crawling with a roving herd.
Yeah. You won't see that now.
You
No,
might see two
no.
elk.
Yeah.
Like statistically, you know, they said in the Clearwater region, we went from about 24,000 elk in the 90s to the last aerial survey after the wolves was down to like 2,000 elk.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they want to do in Colorado is they're reintroducing the wolf in Colorado.
Right, which is stupid.
Well, they've had all these little experiments to learn from.
Right.
What the hell?
But
So let me ask you a question then, because I was trying to figure out like what is the long-term play in this, or I'm not looking for a conspiracy, but I'm like, so here's my philosophy, or my theory, which maybe it's not a conspiracy or anything. Like I've got a couple drinks in me, so I'll just fucking rant for a while. I think this is an anti-hunting play. I think this is a long-term play to try to balance the ecosystem and push hunters out. That's what I think.
I'd agree with that. I've thought that since day one.
Have you really?
Yep.
So I'm not. So this is.
You're not the only one. I think.
100%.
I'm not the only one.
100%.
This is like.
But we're not in
common
the
knowledge.
1800s anymore either.
Right.
I mean, the human influence on these populations is huge now. I mean, we have to manage that.
We do.
Yeah, we're not. This ain't one big Yellowstone.
No.
No.
I mean, I guess like, what's the common narrative that you hear like for the pro wolf introduction? Because it's not even the same fucking wolf. That's the
Right.
other thing that I don't
Right.
understand.
Well, I can go down a rabbit hole on that
Please do.
because you never hear anybody talk. All the smart people that talk.
I-
I'm just
I-
I'm just a dumb kid from Weeyipe.
Hey, you and I both. Like I'm a dumb kid from Weeyipe, and we're just a bunch of fucking hillbilly rednecks in here, so it doesn't
Right.
matter.
But here's my theory.
Okay.
So you've got all these different dog breeds, right? They've been bred for how long? Hundreds of years to have certain traits, right? Labradors, rat terriers, you name it. They've been bred for a certain task all
Right.
these years, right? Okay, the Idaho wolves, the original Idaho wolves, they had a menu this big. You could have this, you know, you could have deer, you could have elk, you could have this stuff, but it's a very limited. It's not a buffet. It's not all you can eat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gotcha.
there's an end to the animals, right?
Right.
The Canadian gray wolves, which is what they put here, since the dawn of time, have been feasting on millions of caribou. they eat as much as they want for as long as they want,
Right.
because there's that millions of caribou, right?
It's a
With that-
spigot.
Right.
Yeah.
You have that. You put those animals that have that appetite
Right.
in a place that doesn't have that kind of a food supply.
Right.
They eat it up pretty
Yeah.
quick. And I think that's I think that's my personal belief is what the biggest problem was. It wasn't like, I mean, a wolf's a wolf, but a dog's a dog. I mean,
No,
but,
I understand that. I understand exactly what you're saying. Like, yeah, there's a big difference between
Yeah.
a rat terrier and a fucking Doberman pincher. right?
Exactly.
Or pincer, right?
Right.
So, have you heard? So, I have heard this a lot. What is the counter narrative or the argument to the introduction of a non-native species as something native? What is their fucking logic?
Well, they say a wolf's a wolf. You know,
Oh,
if you look
okay.
at the DNA,
so they're
it's the same.
biologists one day, but then they're generalists on the
Right.
second day.
Right.
Got it.
They say
Okay.
the DNA is no different.
Okay, so what they're saying is it's the same thing. And
Same species.
same species. What's your undergrad in?
What's that?
What was your degree in? I forget.
Forestry.
Yeah.
And business.
God, I thought it was biology for some reason.
No. I actually started out down that road.
Right.
Changed after about a semester.
So, but you probably have researched this a lot too, right? Because you had to have been pissed off by this for the last 20 years. So, is there a difference between the Canadian what?
Canadian gray wolf.
Yeah, the Canadian gray wolf and what the original Idaho.
You hear all the old timers talk,
Yeah,
and everything they say was a smaller wolf, less aggressive,
right,
a little more
Like a
docile, of an
Yeah.
animal maybe.
right.
And then they move in this huge Canadian gray wolf to here, and
So what was the actual reasoning and methodology? What were they trying to accomplish in the introduction? Was it saying we're going to balance the ecosystem by the introduction of this predator?
Well, I think it's the feel-good story. It's like, well, the wolves are almost extinct in Idaho. Let's bring some more in, and then, just like grizzly bears or whatever else,
Yeah.
we want them to propagate and have an abundance or a very reasonable population of them
Right.
to get things like they used to be.
Why?
Biodiversity.
So I was thinking about this, because for whatever reason I like to walk around and think about these fucking weird things. So what is it what bookmark are we going back to?
Right.
exactly.
We have, give or take, how many billions of years, Derek? 2.5? Okay, let's call it 3 billion years. Are we going back to a fucking speck before the thing blew up and it created a goddamn planet? Is that where we're going back? Because we got a lot of work to do. If
Right.
if that's what we're doing, where's the bookmark for perfection that we're trying to put this in and say this is where we're going back? Because all these futurists and environmentalists and all these supposed conservationists, which I would argue that all day long,
Mm-hmm.
they're talking about we got to go back. And I'm like, you understand that the Earth was actually hotter when the dinosaurs were here, right? You understand there's all these different climate changes throughout.
It's just cycles.
It's cycles. And I'm not saying we haven't had an impact or anything like that. I'm saying we have had an impact. So recognizing the impact
Mm-hmm.
and then adapting what we've done to make sure that we don't I'm the first guy to tell you I love clean air and clean water because I think we kind of need that shit.
Absolutely.
But 100%. But if we're talking about the reintroduction of fucking animals, how far back do we go?
Right.
Saber-toothed tigers. I mean,
That's what I'm
we
saying.
take DNA
Yes.
from a fossil and
that. Are we doing Jurassic Park now?
Right,
That's
right.
oh shit, we found this thing in some molasses in a cave.
We're gonna grow the motherfucker
We're
in a
gonna grow
petri
this
dish.
fucking Tyrannosaurus
Yeah.
Rex because it was here.
yeah.
That's my question. It's
Right.
what is it that you're defining as perfection?
Maybe that's what's next. Maybe
Well,
we bring back the
Which
T-Rex
would be sick as
to
fuck,
eat
by the
a handful of
way.
fucking
Yeah.
humans.
I would love to
the
see a bunch
dinosaur
of
humans.
I would love to
If this
see a
is what
bunch
we're
of
going
bow
back to,
hunters.
yeah.
I would love to see a bunch of bow hunters and hey, we got to form a tribe because we got a T-Rex out there, and my stick isn't going to get
Right.
it done. We need 100 sticks, so that
Yeah.
this is a tribal endeavor. It'd be like Burning Man with a dinosaur.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you guys go to Burning Man? Would you guys go there? Is that something you guys would do? Do you guys know what it is?
Yeah,
You fucking
this is
guys?
funny.
Have
So
you been? You've
Fuck,
been?
I don't know.
I've never,
Yeah,
I've
enlighten
never
me.
been, but I didn't really know much about it. So made some new friends, and
Solid.
the guy, he's like, "Oh yeah, but we should go to Burning Man." I'm like, I don't know. That seems kind of. I mean, you just hear some crazy shit
the
that
fuck
happens
is it?
there, and
Oh,
I'm
we'll
like,
tell you.
and he was like telling about it, and I'm like, he's like, yeah. I mean, it's crazy as shit. You should probably go. I'm like, I'd probably go.
Yeah.
Just to see what the hell. I like weird people. I like seeing weird people. I'm a people watcher.
Yeah. I am too. You know, one of my favorite things now, before we explain Burning Man to you, is going to the airport and looking at people wearing t-shirt clothing as a fucking mask. Because they've just identified themselves as like some of the stupidest fucking people on the planet.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you understand that's like putting a fucking wire, like a chain link fence up to keep the bees out, right? You understand that?
Yeah, right.
Oh, I got this chain link fence up. I'm going to keep my bees out of my yard. Like, you're a fucking retard. Like, if
That's
you
great.
just like, you're a fucking retard now. Got it. You've identified yourself as somebody. I don't know if I can use that word as a publicly traded CEO, but can I, Derek? All right, cool. So Burning Man.
Yeah, so you're on top of that chain link fence, just keeping the fucking bees out, right?
Yeah, we're like, I've got the stick. I've got this. Hey, sweetie, let's get this stick and let's keep the bees out of our yard. Burning Man. How do we explain this? So
It's a gathering.
It's a gathering.
A festival.
Of people. Yeah. Derek, do you know much about it?
It's a celebration of like this, like it's a life around this whole wooden figure that they burn at the end of the festival.
Yeah. So Derek is like, if you guys understand the term nerd, right? Derek's like a fucking, like, he's like a super nerd. Or in Germany, he'd be called an Uber nerd. He knows goddamn everything.
So he's way
about
smarter than
everything.
us. That's what
Yeah,
you're
he's
trying to
like,
say.
he's way smarter than us. But he knows everything. So Burning Man is a festival. Nevada, California? California. So Burning Man is a California-based festival, and all these people go out, and it's about breaking paradigms, basically. So if you think about it in the context of everything that we know about social order is built on pre-existing infrastructure that we haven't participated in. So it's to break all of that apart, and there's a bunch of people on drugs, basically. And they're on psychedelics, like a lot of psychedelics. And
Do they got to have Prop 65 tattooed on them?
probably.
Do this,
Yeah, they probably do, I would imagine. But it's fucking wild. Like, one of the guys from The Office goes, and Mike Clancy is fucking hilarious. He's awesome. Former Force Recon guy. He's awesome, dude.
He goes.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
But this is like another... So, you know how bow hunters are
Can
fucking
you buy fucking
freaks?
tickets to sit up in the top row and watch this shit? Or?
You can.
Yeah.
I think you have to buy tickets, and they're like...
Oh, really? Really?
It's 100... I think it's like 100,000 people, right?
I don't know the exact.
My wife would probably go just
Dude.
to watch people. Yeah, she's the same way. She'll go to Vegas and
It's-
just fucking watch people.
It's wild. It's like
Yeah.
a light show, and like...
Giant, like art installation.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have like...
Like millions of people?
No, it's like 100,000.
Like 100,000.
Costumes.
Costumes.
People dress up weird.
Yeah, dress
Really?
up weird. Like, you know what we should do? Is let's do Redneck Burning Man next year, where we just
Yes.
take a bunch of fucking rednecks to Burning Man with us, and it'll be the most amazing thing ever. Where it's like, hey man,
I've
you gotta
already
do a
got
bunch of shrooms. You got to go to this thing and watch the light show. Just see what happens. Like, I think it'd be fun.
Can we pick our own costumes?
Yeah, you can do your
Awesome.
own costumes.
I'm
Like,
all in.
we'll like put it all together. You know what we should do is see if Steve or Nella will go with us, and
Oh.
then they'll be like, "Hey, it's a meat eater. Like, hey, check this out. I've been Burning Man, and there's a giant light in the sky."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
You
know.
never know. You might
You
be
never
for it.
know. I had like a series of other questions that I had to ask, and then I like started drinking. And
No shit.
totally forgot. So when you classify, oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Archery or hunting influencers. Okay.
Right.
Does it, and I'll frame it up in the right context, which is some of these guys really fucking irritate me.
Right.
Like, they're just like nauseating, right? It's just like, it's fake as fuck. It's like high fence or whatever it is, right? And and by the way, hey man, if you're like a high fence guy, I got no issues with that whatsoever. But
Right.
don't be a high fence guy pretending like you're out on public land. Like that's just
Exactly.
Well,
Just
that's
be
like-
real.
Just
Yeah,
be real,
fucking
man. Just
spill
like,
the beans.
hey, man,
Have
I
you-
went up and hit
yeah.
this thing with a hammer, and now it's on my wall. That's fine.
Well, yeah, it's transparency, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
Yeah.
a bodybuilder that would say, I don't do steroids, but I look like this, but he does do steroids. I mean, transparent. Just admit it. I mean, I don't. If they want to go do that, great. Go on.
Have you ever hunted a high fence ranch?
No.
You never have.
No.
How about you?
I've never really hunted out.
I've never
Idaho
even really
regular
seen one.
shit, dude.
What about like Montana? You ever gone like?
I've been to Wyoming one time.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I drew a tag back in like 2010. So yeah,
Yeah.
I went with the Gunworks guys. It was fun. It was fun. It was a good hunt. So,
Yeah, that's
but it was a we were on Forest Service land.
right.
Back in. So
Well, it's fun. It's just like,
yeah, if high fence.
like
I've never
Disney.
even seen a freaking high fence
well, I mean, it doesn't.
ranch for.
Well, you have. You know where you have is when you drive down to Riggins, and when you're at Riggins,
you got to turn and go up the salmon.
Yep.
But do they
there's-
hunt right there on that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Not like it's out there, but yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah, because they've got it
I've
right
driven up there one time to look at the elk.
There you go.
Yeah.
See,
I didn't know they hunted right there.
they don't hunt like in the pen, but out on the
But how
dude.
many acres?
It's a lot, man.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's like Kenny Walters, and those guys are awesome. Like
Yeah.
they're like they. So if you guys are ever in Riggins, Idaho, which is like nobody goes there unless they're going through it or they're rafting. There is an incredible jerky place. If you gone up to their place, they've got a little butcher shop, and
I haven't.
they
Missing
make
out.
they make jerky right there in
there.
their smoke shack. So every time I'm driving through,
You got to stop.
you got to stop. Like it
Yeah.
because it's elk jerky, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like they've
Yeah,
got
next
elk-
time drop some by the house, would you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just drop some by. I've got to stop. So and I tell my dad when he's coming down, I'm like, hey, you got to stop by. But now we have like 7 elk a year that are in our freezer, so I don't have a lack of elk jerky, but they're fucking awesome
Huh.
people.
Yeah, I'll have to stop in.
Yeah.
But a
I'll
high
check it out.
fence. So let me explain high fence to a couple guys that have never hunted a high fence. It's super fun. One, they do coal hunts where they have, let's say, an abundance of does that they need like 30 does. Like, okay, so you go out and you don't really have, I mean, you have tags and a limit and a lot of them, but you can fucking put as many does in the bag as you want, or you can put as many bucks in the bag as you want. And it's not as if like you can go up and feed them out of your hand. Like, you got to go out and get them, but they're abundant.
It's more grocery shopping then.
Yeah, you're like,
Right.
I want a whitetail, or I want 3, or whatever it is. And
Mhm.
I had so much whitetail. Like, so here's a funny story. I'll tell everybody on the podcast and you guys, which is, so I was like doing this carnivore thing for a while. I was doing this carnivore diet, and I had all this whitetail because I'd killed I don't know how many fucking whitetail. And I went in, and my doctor was like, you have like excruciatingly high iron levels. Like, what are you doing? Are you living in like an iron well? Or I don't know if that exists, but I was like, no, I'm just living my cleanest life, eating wild meat, doing my thing. Well, that has a lot of minerals in it, so you're iron, so it's high iron, and you'll fuck yourself up if you eat too much of it.
Too much.
And evidently, if that's the only thing you eat, it's a little bit unhealthy. Yeah, come to find out.
So are you okay to eat it now? Yeah.
Well, I
So
had
last
limes.
time I talked to you,
I had limes.
you had limes.
I still do.
And
You don't get rid of it.
Yeah, and it was you couldn't eat red meat.
I took a year off of red. I had to take a year off of red meat because I was I got limes. I was turkey hunting in Missouri, and I had this fucking tick embedded in my belly button. I've got just enough of a roll right there that I can't see it, and it took me a day, and then pretty soon I had full blown limes, and I had an allergy, an acute allergy to red meat specifically.
Huh.
And
It's like the red.
alpha gal is the
Yeah.
technical thing, and it sucked.
Yeah.
Sucked.
Yeah.
Like,
It's your favorite thing. You can't eat it.
You were in Missouri, huh?
yeah, misery. Missouri. Yeah, I was turkey hunting out there. And do you guys do a lot of turkey hunting?
I did. I hunted quite a bit last spring. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, I went to Kansas, went to Oregon. Yeah.
What'd you think?
It's not elk hunting. Everybody says
I can't get into it.
it's the bulls
They're
of
in
the
my
spring.
fucking yard, man.
Yeah.
I'd like to be 20 great big toms in my goddamn yard. You know, I think I could go out there and just strangle them if I wanted to or something. You know?
You probably could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've never gotten into turkey hunting. I tried to take my kids a time or two, something to do in the spring.
It's super fun for kids.
We love to shed hunt, so you know that's
It's
what we
fun.
do.
I mean, people say, "Oh, it's the bulls of the spring," you know, but they're just like hunting elk.
No, it's not.
Turkeys are assholes.
No, and you got to work hard to be able to eat the damn things, in my opinion.
Yeah, you got to work.
Oh, you gotta slice them real thin, and you gotta age them and soak them in this, and then roll them in that, and then fry them. And that's too much fucking work.
Oh, okay, that's what I was doing wrong.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, man.
I was not doing any of this.
Yeah, right.
So now I get it.
Yeah.
It's fucking gross.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the
It's a pretty
greatest thing
damn
ever
good
if you
turkey.
do this. Well,
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, I'll give you that. So, take a turkey breast, you rub it in mustard,
Right.
spring mustard. Which you could do this with pork or whatever you're trying to put on a Traeger, right? You're going to put this on the Traeger, you rub it in mustard, then you put your seasoning on it because the mustard makes the seasoning stick. And
Derek is shaking his head up.
Yeah.
He's going.
It's a
yes.
thing.
He's tried
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
And then you smoke that
That's good, huh?
motherfucker for about 5 hours.
Oh, you smoke it?
5 hours.
About 5 hours or so, depending. You have to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
tabs on it. You don't
Yeah.
want to overdo it. But my wife,
My smoker.
I've
broke
killed a lot
like
of turkeys.
2
My wife's
years
cooked
ago,
a lot
so-
of turkeys.
Really?
Every different way you can imagine. But I made it like this on the Traeger, and she's like, "What is this?" Well, it's turkey. She's like, "Oh my god!" She was fascinated with it. Can you make some more of that? It was that good. So, but it was smoked. So,
Got it. Yeah.
My kids will get in and want to shoot a turkey every now and then. I'm like, that's fine, but you fucking take care of it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to touch one of them goddamn things. I don't know why.
It's weird.
I've never got into it.
No.
but archery turkey, I'm not into it.
You're not.
No,
Why?
I mean, I don't want to sit in a blind.
Yeah.
They're
sitting in a blind sucks.
They're designed to be shot in the face with a shotgun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or a 9mm through the head.
right.
Not legal. I would never promote that as an option, by the way. But yes.
But no, shotgun hunting for turkeys is way funner because you can run and gun, right? You're not stuck in a blind.
Yeah.
You're run and gun. You call them in. It can be fun. They're pretty damn frustrating. I mean, they can be really. I went on a turkey hunt last spring in Kansas with the most decorated turkey caller of all time.
I don't know what that means.
He's won more.
I don't know what that means.
Like us Westies, us Westies, we don't know like the turkey world like
No,
the
I don't know
Easties
it.
do.
Yeah.
So
Those
guy,
East Coast guys are fucking
they're
crazy.
fanatical.
on turkey
We
hunting,
think
aren't they?
we're into elk hunting.
Yeah,
We've been
we
talking
don't
about
know
elk hunting.
shit.
Those guys are like they're like 10 times more fanatical about turkey hunting and deer hunting, whatever. But this guy, he's won more turkey calling contests than anybody else alive, right? The man is a damn walking, talking turkey. He sounds good. Chris Parrish, right? This guy. And these damn turkeys, I mean, they give us the runaround. We end up having to hunt these things like deer. You sit up, you wait, you ambush them, you waylay them.
Yeah.
I mean, because turkeys have a mind of their own. They're kind of an asshole one day. The next day, they're dumb as shit. I mean, you just never know what you're going to get on turkeys, right? So they can be pretty challenging, but it was a fun hunt.
My idea of a fun turkey hunt would be put me in a fucking ghillie suit, sprinkle some corn on me.
Yeah.
And then
Strangle
just fucking,
Catch them.
I could see you doing that.
That'd be all right.
Yeah, I could see you doing that.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That might be interesting.
Well, Mark kept on talking about this elk hunt here. Where there's all these wallows. There's wallows everywhere at this place, right?
Yeah.
And he's like,
And you want to hide in the wallow?
like
Fucking A.
like
Oh,
Rambo.
that's
Yeah,
so
like
good.
Rambo,
Like Rambo.
you know? We just see Dirk's eyes open, you know? He rises up out of the wallow with his bow drawn, you know?
I want to see you rise out of a wallow with like a Rambo knife.
Yeah.
That's next
You know,
level.
you can do a lot with a knife, though. Just
Yeah. It's got to be the right knife.
knives are good for digging and for killing.
But yeah,
So
that'd be pretty cool.
we talked about this earlier, but I gotta tell this. I gotta like go in this fucking rant because mule deer hunters have like a fucking illness, right? We talked about this.
Yes,
They have a
they
fucking
do.
illness.
They're crazy.
They're crazy. I was trapped in a truck. I was telling you guys, these fucking dudes, and I was like, and they were all mule deer fanatics. They were all talking about hunting mule deer and fucking stories about their stocks and like talking about grass and like all this. I mean, it's fucking nuts. And I was like, I'm going to either blow my fucking head off or I'm going to jump out of this fucking car. If you guys tell me one more fucking stupid story about a deer, I don't give a shit about it. And they're like, I can't believe, and they're like offended. You know, they're like, I can't believe you would say that about mule deer. Like mule deer. Mule deer are incredible to hunt. I'm like, what did you say? You're like, mule deer is something.
It's something to pass the time after.
Yeah,
elk
it's
hunting.
something to pass the
Yeah,
time.
that's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a time passer. That's all it is. It's like, oh, this is the season, and there's some other shit in here that I
elk
got.
season's over. I can't go
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
There's no more options. I got to do something else. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's definitely two camps of, you know, there's the mule deer guys and the elk guys.
Oh, seriously?
Oh yeah, like this is a thing.
Oh shit! Okay,
It's a big thing.
Tell me about this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about
like
these
the
two
mule deer
camps.
guys. They're just like, no, mule deer are the premium species because they're a lot smarter, they're a lot wiser. You know, it's a better hunt because, you know, it takes a lot more skill. You know, they don't just walk around bugling all over the place, telling everybody where they're at. You have to find them. You have to glass them up. You have to sneak in. You know, you're stealthy. You have to kill them, and then when you kill one, it's easy to pack one out. Whereas an elk, you know, I mean, packing an elk out on your back is a lot of work.
You should hear about my mule deer experience. So I shot this goddamn deer back in like 2004. I had this mule deer tag, and I had to cross this place called Big Canyon. Some of the listeners might recognize this, but I had to cross this. It was raining like fucking crazy down through these rock slides. I crawl up, I shoot this damn deer. It slides clear to the bottom of the canyon. Still raining like crazy. It was a big old muley, and I deboned the thing. I had the whole deer in my pack, the head, the cape, the everything, the whole deer in my pack. And I was literally hands and knees trying to get out of this canyon. And we're talking maybe 1,000, 1,500 feet in elevation I had to gain.
Yeah.
And I just...
Are you talking about like Big Canyon in Idaho?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down by, was it Yellow Pine?
Down by Peck.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm crawling out of this fucking canyon with this whole deer on my back, and it's raining, pouring down rain. And I get about halfway, and I slide like 30 feet, and I about tipped over backwards. And I'm like, fuck, what the hell am I doing? So I dropped my pack and unloaded half the meat or whatever, and took it up, and I came back and got the other half. But shit, I about died packing that damn muley out of that canyon. And I got back, and I had 102 pounds of boned out meat, which I've never even freaking heard of that on a mule deer.
That's
ever.
a huge
That's
mule
not
deer.
the head and the horns and
Right.
the rifle and all the other
Yeah.
bullshit I had in my pack. But man, that was horrible.
And you were a mule deer aficionado from that day
I
forward.
don't think I've ever shot one since. That's been,
That's
been 18 years ago.
That was enough.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Do you hunt by yourself most of the time?
Yeah, I do a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I hunt with my old man. My son now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's into it.
Right.
He loves it. Loves
Yeah.
to go. So
What's your preferred? Now, if you didn't have kids,
Mhm.
would you just prefer to hunt by yourself?
no, probably 15 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
I explained it my dad earlier. It was like a job to him.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that to me. Like my stomach would start hurting a month before season. 'Cause I
Really?
was so into it, just wrapped up and going. And man, I'm gonna land 10 miles back, and I'm gonna kill this bull. It was just, I was that serious about it. But
So
today,
would you walk past good elk country to get further back?
yeah,
in?
just because I thought maybe somebody might be here,
Got it.
right? So my
Yeah,
goal
yeah.
was just to not see anybody.
Right.
So that's what I did. Now today, I'm having fun. Like
Right,
this
right.
year, Dirk went with me. Friend Bo, I drew a really good tag in Idaho.
Yeah.
We had a blast. I'm bringing my son back. I think Bo's coming back, and then another buddy, maybe to hunt with me. And shit, 15 years ago, I probably would have been down here by myself and had my fucking track shoes on and 30 miles a day trying to kill the 400 incher or whatever. Nah, I'm a little more relaxed. And
You're
yeah,
more
I'm
chilled
having
out.
a little more chill. And
Yeah.
just having fun. So,
Yeah.
but I got a kid that I'm trying to do the same. And the problem is he's turning into me already. Like it's a fucking job. And I'm like,
Right.
all right, I don't want him to be like I was. I want him to have fun with it. Go with his buddies.
I don't want him
Yeah.
to be
Go
like,
with his buddies. And,
Right,
and not
right,
that
yeah,
I had
yeah.
fun with it, but
Right.
yeah. So
I like to balance it.
it's changed.
I like to go by myself, just to have that solitude and just like kind of right the ship.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Just get out, like have that alone time. Okay, I'm good again. But I also like to go with buddies too, like have a
Yeah.
good time and talk and just connect and laugh our asses off and just have a really good time.
Right.
But I also like to be alone too. So it's like if I can do both every year,
Yeah.
things are perfect.
Girls are the best, man. You got a couple daughters,
Yeah.
right? So I take my daughter out and it's just chill. She don't care if she kills anything. She's just happy to be out there.
Right.
She wants to shoot something, but if
Right.
she doesn't, it's not that big a deal. It's just so when I take her, it's just it set me at that next level. It's like, okay, we don't have to kill something
Right.
every day we go or whatever. That's not what it's about. So,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think about that a lot. Where I'm like,
Meanwhile, we're talking about mule deer. She's killed a 200-inch mule deer.
"Fuck, are you serious?
12 years old.
Are you kidding
No,
me?
I'm not kidding you.
Where?
Yeah. Same unit where I killed mine in the pet country. Yeah.
Holy
12 years
shit,
old,
12
yeah.
years old, and she killed a 200.
Yeah. She'd never killed a freaking squirrel before, man. And the cool
That's
thing is, it's
awesome.
not like never got in her head. Like,
Yeah,
oh, it's this
yeah.
monster. I'm not like I'm ruined now. No.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Have you
I'll
ever-
go shoot a little 4-point whitetail. She's happy.
Yeah.
Just loves to go. So
Have you ever killed a muley?
Yeah.
I mean, do you like
Yeah.
it? Do you like?
Yeah. I like it, but I'm not defined
not
by
into
it. No, I killed a couple pretty nice ones when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But then I killed the last one in 1988.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to 2019, 2020. Yeah, 2020. I was with my next mule deer I shot. And I shot one in 2021 as well.
Really?
And both of them in Montana.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're cool. They're fun to hunt.
What are these? So what are these bugling competitions? Like, what do you?
Yeah.
Where do you do this?
So the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation,
Yeah,
if
of
you
course.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every year they put on a
Fuck off. That's awesome.
no shit, right?
That's so.
it's
awesome.
showing you that big deer.
dude.
It's
Yeah,
huge.
you guys he showed me this 200-inch muley with his 12 years
Yeah.
old. It's fucking
And the thing was on the run, and she whacked it. At like
Are you
80
kidding
yards.
me?
No, fuck. If she shoots at it, it's gonna die.
She's that good.
Yeah,
It's got ice in her veins.
she's gonna hit right.
just like her
where it's
daddy.
Yeah.
at. She's. Anyway,
Okay, but
sorry.
Rocky Mountain Elk
Yeah,
Foundation.
yeah, good. So Elk
Are you done?
I just lost camera on
Main camera?
both cameras. The first one went out a little earlier. You ran out of card, and then this one just died on me.
Okay.
So I got audio still going. So if you guys can keep going, or
Yeah, because we'll finish it out.
Okay,
But
yeah.
we'll finish it out audio wise.
Okay.
Is there anything left in that fucking
Yeah,
thing?
here.
We better.
Finish it out audio wise. So let's just lock the camera. How long we been going, Dirk?
2 hours.
Fuck, really?
Man,
Dude, this is
No
awesome.
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I'm not ready to be done yet.
No, I'm
no,
not
this
either.
is good.
No,
this is good.
great.
This is great. We're gonna have to get into that bird dog.
Yeah,
here
we might
next.
have to get into that bird dog. Grab that peach bird dog, Dirk.
There was
Switch
what, a
the-
half a
switch
bottle of
the
that we
memory
started?
card on the main. Let's fucking do this.
Yeah, we've got some good spots that aren't horrible.
Where? Well, we'll have to get into this podcast, but well, you don't have to. Like, where do you?
Are
like
we
to-
live right now?
Yeah, we're still
Yeah,
fucking
we're still
rolling,
fucking
dude.
live.
Yeah, we're still.
So where
we're
do I
still
what?
rolling. I don't give a fuck. Like this is a fucking great podcast.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way they should be right here. This is the way they all should be. The late night, like the late.
Oh, that's
night.
good shit.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking really good. Like we.
Yeah, you better not sit.
I'm not gonna say there.
It's gonna end up in your lap.
Oh yeah, we're just.
Yeah,
gonna
we
roll
missed
until
dinner
we're
last
done.
night too, so that's all right. They'll put shit
It's
in the
fine.
fridge for us.
I'm not like. I mean, what am I gonna be, a fucking casserole aficionado? Like,
Well, look at. I mean, I can miss a dinner or two.
you look great. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
I'm basically a fitness model.
So we were talking about earlier, before we got evilly interrupted by Derek and his fucking lack of memory cards. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation puts on. Go ahead.
An elk calling contest.
Yeah.
Every year. in different locations, typically at their AKA Elk Camp or whatever. It's like a big trade show.
Yep.
That way consumers can go there, check out all the cool booths. You can book a hunt in Alaska. You could book a elk hunt on the Apache Indian Reservation. I mean, they got everything. You could buy a ShamWow. They've got
fucking A.
They've got everything from elk hunts to ShamWows.
You get one of those like shark knives that cuts through a can. You get a fucking ShamWow. You can get a sheep
the
hunt.
Ginsu.
Oh yeah,
the fucking Ginsu.
the Ginsu 2000. It slices, it dices. But anyhow, so they have that every year, and people compete. You can compete as a professional level, which people who are professionals are guys who represent, Anyway, guys, even girls could compete in the professional. So if you represent,
how is that possible?
If you represent
lady professionals,
interesting. If you represent a call company,
lady professional,
right?
It's like more of an anchor man. Lady anchor. It's anchor man. It's anchor man, not anchor lady.
Victoria Corningstone.
Sorry, dude. Off track.
That's all right. So anyhow, if you work for a call company,
okay.
If you're representing a call company, if you're demonstrating calls for a call company, you must enter the professional division.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
If you don't have that kind of affiliation, then you enter the men's. Or if you're a lady and don't, represent a company, you can be in the ladies division.
Okay.
Then they have a youth, which is like 12 to
That's
18.
Cool. Yeah.
And they have a peewee, so under 12.
That's fucking
so.
Awesome.
And the peewee one, it's always the best because it's always these little 2-year-old, 3-year-old little kids getting up there and screaming through a tube, and they're so damn cute.
I'm going to identify as a peewee.
Just like thrash them. Yeah.
Fuck those peewees.
I had a concept for a TV series I was going to do. Was called T-Ball.
T-Ball?
But it's about a male trans that identified as a child and entered into T-ball and was like smashing fucking home runs, and, like smoking cigars, drinking whiskey,
saying swear words on the field.
Yeah, like, get the fuck out of my way, pushing little kids out. I identify as a 12-year-old or whatever, right? It's T-ball.
Oh my god.
You're welcome for that interruption between your fucking argument.
I started it. Sorry.
Okay.
So anyway, you compete, and there's 7 judges, and they grade you on 1 to 10, or excuse me,
Who are these
1 to
judges
20.
and where do they come
so
from? What gives them the fucking throne to sit on?
They're supposedly people who know what an elk sound like. So you'll have biologists, you'll have outfitters, you'll have guides, you'll have maybe former contestants of the elk calling contest. So people that should know what a damn elk sounds like, right? And you got 7 of them. They take the highest score, the lowest score, and they throw it out. That way, if there's favoritism or any hate, they're like, yeah, we'll go ahead and throw those out.
Right.
And then they take the rest of the scores and tally them up. And whoever gets the most points wins. Right. So you're judged on cow calls, you're judged on bugles.
How many times have you entered this competition?
Quite a few.
I don't know what that means.
Shit, I don't even know. I think the first time I started was 96.
Oh shit,
20. Yeah.
And then the last one I entered in was 2019.
How many times have you won it?
Only 6.
Only 6.
Only 6.
Oh. Yeah.
I've lost.
Who's your main competitor?
You never know.
But who's won just as many as you have?
In the men's division where I competed, I've won the most.
That's what I wanted to get at. There you go.
I don't usually tell that. I don't usually tell that. It's the
That's
whiskey talking.
It's a humble brag. No, I think that's
he's fucking good. You go out there and
hence
listen.
the fucking call sign, right?
Shit.
Like
hashtag the bugler.
Yeah, hashtag the bugler. Like I think arguably you know a lot about communicating in the language of elk.
Right.
I don't know what I just said, but it sounded good. Right?
You were spot on. Dude.
That
was a great question.
But you know a lot about it.
Well, I've lived the life, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we talked earlier. You really talked a lot about the lives Mark and I had growing up immersed in hunting, right? Yeah. And like I said, I hunted every day of September when I was in high school. Think about that. 30 days.
Yep.
Okay. As an adult onset hunter, let's say.
Right.
You get your 1 week a day, 1 week a year.
Yep.
You get 7 to 10 days to go elk hunting every year.
Right.
I mean, to build the tactics, to build the knowledge, to build the chops.
Right.
It's going to take a long time in that kind of a...
But to go out and mimic an actual sound of an elk, like,
right.
I mean, you know as well as I do.
Right.
You get out there and you listen. You're like, okay, that's an elk. That's a hunter. That's an elk. That's
Right.
a hunter.
Yeah,
You know.
Right.
But it's a knack. Like, I don't. There's people who have tried their whole life to sound like what you sound like,
Right.
and there's no way. They're not even close.
I'm kind of a natural mimic because I like to do voices and I like to sing and I like to
who's your favorite voice you like to mimic?
Damn it, Bobby. I said propane, not butane. Butane's a bastard gas. I love to do Hank Hill. I mean, I do a lot of... I love people, like normal, everyday people with unique voices. Like anybody
Okay.
we might meet, there's some guy that talks weird. Then
Right.
I'm like, in my mind, immediately, like, trying to talk like that person.
But it takes a knack to throw, diaphragm call in there and
Right.
be able to mimic or sound really close to what an elk sounds like. Like, most people will stand across the canyon from you and go, that's a fucking bull. That's a big bull over there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go across this fucking canyon after him.
I may not have been blessed with a fully functional brain. But I can use an elk diaphragm. I can sound like an elk.
You can sound like an elk.
I know. I mean, I don't know how usable that is, but it's good because ultimately,
Are you known as that, one of the guys?
I think
does it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. People know my name. I'm
Yeah.
kind of a big deal.
I'm kind of,
I've
Kind
got
of a big
many leather-bound books.
Yeah. Another Anchorman reference,
Yeah.
which is like fucking. I didn't realize this. I said this a while ago, but I didn't realize how I watched Anchorman for the first time after probably a decade,
Oh,
just recently. I
really?
was like, there are so many different references that we use and we've pulled into our common vernacular.
Oh, yeah.
They're everywhere, and you don't realize it because it's awesome. It's an amazing fucking movie.
It's one of my favorites.
It's an
It's
amazing movie.
Yeah.
I was like, I was blown away by how fucking good that movie was, and how shitty other Will Ferrell movies have gotten.
Right?
It's like,
He really
dude,
fell
Talladega
off.
Nights was like so fucking good,
Yeah.
and like all these movies were so good, and then what happened? My theory.
I got a theory too.
Do you?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So Chevy Chase used to make amazing movies. Like I watched every Fletch available. Like they're all amazing.
he's funny
Like,
as shit.
it's all about movies
Yeah.
these days. Like it's fucking amazing. Like I've used I don't know how many Fletch lines. Derek doesn't know even what these fucking movies are. Like he's like,
Yeah.
I actually have no idea.
Fucking National Lampoon.
Chevy
and
Chase.
shit.
Yeah, it's fucking
it is
amazing.
fun.
Yeah.
When he was on coke, cocaine made him funny.
Oh.
For the love of humanity and everything that is
Please
great
start doing
in America,
coke again.
Please start doing cocaine again. So you can
Make
be fucking funny, man.
Make a few more movies. For
Yeah,
us.
like,
yeah.
you can
Crank
save the
out a
world.
couple. Dude, you could fucking literally save the world. We could bring Democrats and Republicans together around,
Right?
fucking vacation. Come on, man, Fletch. Like, start doing cocaine again, Chevy Chase. Make it fucking funny again, right?
I'm going to call some people. I'll make a phone call.
Yeah. Like, good God. Do I got to fly this fucking dude to Colombia? Fucking put him in a scenario where he's like
shit.
directly against every fucking counselor he's ever had in his life, just to bring back some amazing comedy. Shit's amazing.
That was Chris Farley too.
Yeah. Right? It's like, listen, man, this is your public service. We know you have a fucking short lifespan, but for the love of God, if you could just do more drugs as a comedian and make yourselves funny, like fucking
It gives us a long and happy life.
It's like
yeah.
music
Yeah.
too.
It's
Like
fulfilling.
like musicians, like when they were just like in the depths of drugs, they made the best music, and then they get sober, and then
Yeah.
it just
Guns
kind of
N'
falls
Roses,
away.
Axl
It's just like,
Rose,
oh,
yeah.
this is not that
Yeah.
good anymore.
Yeah. I think that's why Kurt Cobain, I'm sorry. I think that's why his wife blew his head off. Because she was like, this dude is going to, right? Like,
You think she did it?
this dude is gonna quit drugs. He's not gonna be good anymore. Let's fucking off this guy, right?
Yeah. Go
Makes
out on
sense.
top.
Could be.
Go
Go out on top.
Shit,
What?
yeah.
You're going to rehab?
Oh,
Wait,
Yeah.
hey, what's your handwriting look like? You know what I mean? That's how. It
Write
went.
this note.
That's how it
Yeah.
went.
Could have been.
If she could sue me now, she'd probably watch what I say.
Probably.
Doubt it. Yeah. I did. Did you guys ever watch? Did you guys ever listen to grunge when you were like?
Oh yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love
Yeah.
grunge.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
Because like that was our era.
Soundgarden. and
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
on.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
That was the
Love
shit.
that music.
Right?
Alice in
What was
Chains.
What was like the first song you remember from the grunge era, where you're like, this is, and because I remember the time and place.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember?
Oh, fuck
What
yeah.
was it?
Yeah.
What song was it?
So a buddy of mine, Josh Goodwin, he's like, dude, you got to hear this new CD. It's called Nirvana.
Never
smells,
mind.
Smells like Teen Spirit. I'm like,
Yeah.
that sounds gay. And he's like, he puts it in, pushes play, and it's like, dang, 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 dang. And I immediately was like, what the fuck did I just hear? This is amazing. Same as like the first time I heard Metallica too.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yep.
wow. Mind was blown.
Blown.
Mhm. Or Alice in Chains, Rooster, or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Do you
a good one.
remember?
Oh yeah.
What was the song that like kicked it off for you?
It was fucking smells like Teen
Shut the
Teen
fuck
Spirit.
up.
Yeah.
Fucking
We
Nirvana.
are all three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
I was driving.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was driving
What
up.
was
I
the-
love fucking Nirvana.
Dude, still.
God.
I was driving up the hill to the high school in Orfino, and he had one of those shitty Discmans
Yeah.
that you plugged into your tape player
Yeah.
that screwed up your tape player. Yeah, he put that thing in there. I remember it clear as
Yeah.
day, pulling into the parking lot, thinking,
Yeah.
"My God, what the fuck is this? This is amazing."
Yep.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
where you
and then I
were?
remember what the fuck so it was Soundgarden and Pearl Jam
Yeah,
were
yeah.
together. What the fuck was the name of that band? Say Hello to Heaven. You remember that
Yeah,
song?
Temple
Yeah.
of the Dog. if
Temple
you
of
will.
the Dog. Yeah,
which
Temple
was
of
like
the Dog was
Hunger
fucking
Strike.
good.
You
Yeah,
remember
Hunger
that fucking,
Strike.
Like,
Oh, yeah. That was good shit.
Yeah, shit was
Fucking
awesome.
It was so good.
I listened to that the other day. I fired it up.
Yeah, Hunger
Oh,
Strike.
that's
You're
good.
right.
And I was
Yeah.
still
Say Hello to
fucking
Heaven.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
rocking to that shit.
So good.
fuck yeah.
Time-
Do you remember
timeless.
where you were?
Fuck no,
No,
dude. I'm 46, man. I can't.
dude. I
fucking-
remember though.
Do you?
Like just like he does.
Yeah.
I remember. I was in. You remember Jeremy Scow?
Yeah.
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 So my buddy and I.
I
were
see him
sitting
every now and again.
hauling ice or whatever.
Well,
he's
I don't know
doing.
what the fuck he's doing now,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. So we were waiting for him at his house,
Yeah.
and he popped in
On the corner of 20th and
Yeah,
fucking Powers.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So Wadsworth. So this dude
Yeah.
Wadsworth, and I was in his mom's car, and he threw in a tape or CD. I can't remember, but it was "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and it was like, what in the fuck? Like it was like mind blowing. It was like, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I also remember that with Dr. Dre, The Chronic.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, yep,
Yep.
absolutely.
That
Yep.
was
I remember
fucking
that
good
too.
It was good. Like,
Snoop
Yeah.
Dogg, Dr. Dre.
dude, like
Fuck.
that. The Chronic. That
That-
CD was iconic.
So good.
Like,
It
it's
was.
so
It's
good.
still good.
It's still good.
Yeah.
Still good.
It still
My
holds up
kids
today.
love that.
I know it.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, my kid's like, "Hey, Dad, listen to this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know this. I mean, that's old as shit." And he's like, "Oh, it's so good." I'm like, "Yeah, damn right, it's
yeah,
good."
Yeah, it's damn right. It's good. Yeah, that's like
It's clear over there.
the Chronic. I remember I went to some party in Lewiston when I was in.
That's where I heard it the first time. Was at a
Seriously?
party in Lewiston,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I remember.
up in the
And there was
orchards.
this- yeah, it was up in the orchards. We were probably at the same party.
Maybe.
Because we were up in the orchards and we were at some high school party, and there was this dude that I didn't like, and I was at his house, and I can't remember exactly what his name was, but he was like, you know how like there's the drug guys and they're into drugs,
Right.
Mm.
but like there's guys that are not into drugs, and
Right.
the guys that are like kind of like dabbling. Like, there's
But you
different-
party at the same
different-
place.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
party at the same place.
Yeah.
So I went there, and like this guy was drug guy, and I was like never like okay with drug guy. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like, this
right.
guy's kind of freaking me out. I'm like, yeah. I was like, but I was like, fucking Chronic. Like, holy shit, this
Yeah,
is
it's good
really
shit.
good.
So
Yeah,
good.
it was
Yeah.
so good. Like Dr. Dre, and you're like, But that dude, because when Snoop Dogg came on, you're like, what the fuck?
Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, who the fuck is this?
I love
dude?
that fucking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To this day.
He's cool
To
as
this
shit.
yeah,
day.
he's a good dude.
He's a cool cat.
Yeah.
to this day, like Snoop Dogg is
Yeah.
legit.
Dude, I have a cousin who's the white Snoop Dogg. Looks
Like
just
full
fucking
on?
like
Looks
looks
just
just
like
like him.
Really?
Yeah, it's a twin.
He's a twin Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Doppelganger. if
What do you
will.
listen to now?
I don't listen to country. I refuse.
You don't listen to country music at all?
No. I like 90s country. Let's just.
What's
I'm gonna
90s
be honest.
country to you? What-
George
tell me.
Strait,
Yeah, of course.
Brooks
yeah.
and Dunn.
Oh, there
Yeah,
we
yeah,
go.
yeah.
You know,
Clint
that kind
Black.
of stuff. Clint Black.
Yeah.
That stuff. But I love that music. But I've heard
Shit
it so
from the 90s.
much. I'm just like, it's like
Do
eating.
you sing to it?
Oh yeah.
You do?
Oh God, I can
Yeah, yeah,
karaoke the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
all
fuck
of
yeah.
that.
Clint Black.
Oh yeah. Brooks and Dunn. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
George Strait.
Mm.
Well,
Need some?
excuse me, but I think
Thank
you've got my chair.
How about this? Or Amarillo by Morning.
Oh
You
yeah,
got that
I
one?
love that one. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I got them all.
you want to
The greatest hits. I'll sing every damn one of them.
Dude, he's still
you wanna,
singing.
you want to hear
George Strait, you going to a concert?
I am.
Yeah.
So you want to hear some fucking crazy shit, right? So you guys know how I grew up. Like,
Yeah.
When my dad and mom got divorced, my dad and I we had this house up in the middle of nowhere. I had 2 lawn chairs and a fucking milk crate with a black and white TV. Like that's how I grew up. Like
Yep.
that's literally,
Mhm.
and we came from the same family.
Yep.
Like we were not.
I could drive to that fucking house that you grew up in.
yeah.
right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
16th Street.
we had
Yeah,
nothing.
fucking-
Not nothing. I mean,
Yeah, that was that. That was before the divorce.
Yeah, before that was 13th, and then 17th. But you guys know how I grew up, right?
Yeah.
So there are these moments of crazy fucking epiphany and surrealness where
Oh,
you're
yeah.
we share basically this same DNA, but there's times when I know I'm living in a fucking crazy life. At times where I'm this is nuts. So I was talking to somebody the other day about this where Johnny Morris, you know who Johnny Morris is, right?
Yeah.
The owner of Bass Pro. I talk to him every week. He
You
just
do?
calls me and texts me.
Really?
Yeah, I talk to him all the time.
That's badass.
No, and this isn't a brag. I'm not bragging at all.
He's a friend.
It's crazy. It's incredibly humbling and fucking
Dude, I
nuts.
call you every week too.
Yeah. You never pick up,
I
asshole.
never pick up because you don't have my right number. But Johnny's texting me. He's like, "Hey man, how's your wife's elk hunt going?" I'm like, "This is fucking Johnny Morris," and he's texting me on the phone, and I was like, "Oh, this is fucking wild," because he's an icon of
Yeah.
American outdoor retail. He's
Right.
an amazing human being.
Right.
He's incredible. Well, I was at this place the other night. I was at this guy's house, and I was having drinks and cigars with John Rich from Big and Rich.
Oh yeah.
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 And he's just playing the guitar and
Oh,
hanging out.
man.
Dude, this is not lost on me at all.
Yeah.
This is fucking wild,
You're just drinking it in.
bro. Because these
Yeah.
dudes are crazy. They're crazy. They're famous and they're talented. And I'm sitting here what the fuck am I doing here? should not be in this room. I don't even know how to smoke cigars. I'm not a guy. I don't know how to do this. This is fucking totally normal. That's not the lighter of it, and that's not a cigar. That's a burrito, and that's crayon.
You're lighting the wrong
You're
end.
an idiot. You're right. You don't like the pointy end. You cut that off. You're an idiot. So it's not lost on me. In any stretch of the
Yeah, you know where you
imagination.
came from.
Dude.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But
because,
you fucking hit that though. You're fucking there.
oh man,
Everybody knows that name.
I don't know
Yeah.
about that, but it's cool in some ways.
What's
right?
cool is you're the same fucking dude you've always been. Yeah.
I actually think I'm better
Yeah.
in the context of
You've grown up a bit.
because I was kind of an asshole, man.
Have you really though?
I haven't grown any taller.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a few more gray matter folds in
Yeah.
there, but there are times where, when
Well, dude, I seen you at Big Sky last year.
yeah,
Right? I hadn't seen you in a lot of years. 10
Yeah.
years probably.
Easily, yeah.
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 I just stood up from the table and you seen me. I seen your face light up. I was like, fuck yeah, that dude's the same dude he's always fucking been.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so.
And I'm a nobody.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
No, you're
I'm
not.
a nobody.
You're fucking.
Yeah, you came over and gave me a big hug, and I was like, yeah, that's fucking guy.
You're
He's never,
fucking
he's never
badass.
fucking changed.
No,
Yeah.
But that's the weird thing about this is like I feel like a voyeur at sometimes where I'm like a voyeur in my own life where I'm like, this is fucking nuts, dude. Like this is fucking
Badass
nuts.
is what it is.
Well, like Joe's a good example, right? Where you're like, he's fucking. It's Joe Rogan.
Joe fucking
Yeah.
Rogan.
Joe fucking Rogan.
Yeah.
And like we're hunting in California together, just
Yeah.
two of us hanging out. You're like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, have I been transplanted from a fucking different universe and put into an experiment
Right.
where you're like, hey
But-
man, you're not supposed to be here, but let's just see how this fucking dude.
He's just
reacts
that
to this."
personality, right? I mean, fuck.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, this
Yeah,
is
I
like,
watched Joe Rogan.
dude, I love that guy. Like,
He's cool.
he's
yeah.
super cool.
Yep.
And like, but the cool thing is like, when you think about all these like different people, but you guys are like what you do is what so many other people what they aspire to do. So like when you say things like it's denigrating to a certain degree because you're like people want to go out and have the ability to go out and hunt alone. Like they want to do that. You do it. You just do it because that's who you are. There are people in social media that make that look cool, but you're not in social media like at all, right? I mean,
No,
not at all.
really, I'm not now.
Yeah.
No.
So like what you do is now like obviously cool, but what you do is like you guys are fucking really talented and incredible people that do really cool things. And what people aspire to do is to do the things you want to do. And like what people post in social media
Yeah.
is what they pretend. They
Right.
pretend
I'm just not
to
a fucking
do what
sales
you guys
guy.
do.
I'm just not a fucking sales guy. I've never been.
You can't sell
sales guy.
yourself.
Yeah.
You
No,
can't.
I
You
can't.
can't brag on
Yeah.
yourself.
No,
Yeah, you're
no,
you're literally
I
it's probably the
struggle
most
with that.
one of the most humble people I know.
I just do it. I just do it.
Yeah.
But
It's hard. It's hard to sell yourself. It really is. Like it's fucking difficult,
It is.
man.
Yeah.
And not like hard in a this is really hard. It's like no man, it's an ethical
Right.
quandary. It's an
Right.
ethical
You just
quandary.
don't want to put yourself with that.
No.
You just want. Oh, I'm just a normal guy that does what I love to do.
Right?
Yeah. Just happen to be good at it.
You just happen to
Yeah.
be good at it.
Yeah.
which I think that's where a lot of these influencers kind of go wrong. They're trying to make a name for themselves in the whole spirit of making a name for themselves.
Yep.
Whereas the whole time my motives of what I do, I put myself out there because I love what I do and I want to share it. Okay. And some people like it, some people don't. I don't care if you like it. I even if you do, great, thank you. I appreciate that. But I feel like being real. Put yourself out there, be real, and the people that are into that will find you and follow it.
Yeah.
And like it. And if not, but if you do it for the wrong reasons, if you're trying to make a name for yourself, I think you're doing it for all the wrong reasons.
All the wrong reasons.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
And I struggle with that. I
Right.
struggle with just putting myself out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
it's hard. Like I remember because I came out of like a profession where you couldn't promote or put yourself out there in any regard.
Right.
And just like selling is hard.
Mhm.
But I think where being a salesman in the context of like you gotta ask for the conversion, right? Like being a salesman is
Yep.
something it's difficult, and I don't think it's compromising in the context of like people want to buy shit.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to buy shit from people that are like trusted resources. So once I like cross the psychological threshold into I want to buy shit, I want a good salesman. Everybody appreciates a great salesman. Everybody does because
Yeah.
they're like nobody likes like the traditional used car salesman.
Right,
They
right,
want to
yeah.
know no shit, brass tacks.
And that's me. I'm fucking black or white.
That's it.
Right. Yeah. There's no fucking sugarcoating.
No, it's binary.
No.
It's like 0 and 1. It's like, hey, it's good or it's bad. Like
Yeah,
that's what
right.
they want to
Yeah.
know.
Right.
And I always consider myself as like the guy that's like, hey, I'm just a fucking guy that's like selling you shit, but I'm trying to do it in a very honest and authentic and
Right,
transparent
right.
way. Where, I don't really like, I have terabytes of this stupid show that anybody and their fucking brother can listen to. I'm really not, Derek, I'm not forcing you to attest to this, but am I any different in the show than I am fucking in the office? No, I'm no different.
Yeah.
Like I'm zero, like
Which is fucking awesome.
zero different.
Yeah.
Because it's like people need an authentic voice. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going back to too, like with not ADHD jumping around. But so Don Jr. was out at the house. This is fucking wild just for me to say that. But Don Jr. was out at the house and we were having dinner the night before he did the podcast. So he's like, my kids are climbing around on him and like my wife and everybody's there. And like Don Jr., and I'm not like saying like he's a celebrity in the context, like he's just like, it's Don Jr., right?
Yeah.
It's like DJ's he's the general of the meme wars.
Right.
And he's a fucking super rad guy. He's been my friend for a long time. Before it was like Don Jr. is Don Jr., but that guy's a super accomplished hunter.
He is. Yeah.
He's like
You have a lot in
no
common.
shit legit guy.
Yeah. He's not
And-
just a figurehead.
No, dude, he's like
he's a normal
he's playing
dude.
with my fucking kids and
Yeah.
like, cutting cheese on the cheese board and like,
Yeah.
like hanging out like a normal fucking person.
Yeah, he's just a fucking good dude.
Just a good dude. Just like if he was sitting right here at that table, he's just like us.
Yeah.
He doesn't really drink, but if we were drinking, like he would be like cutting cheese and hanging out and telling fucking dick jokes, just like we do,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So we do.
Yeah.
That whole context of this, which I lost my train of thought, was
Yeah.
people are all the same. So
They are,
whether
yeah.
you think they're cool in social media, that sometimes they're fake as fuck and they're inauthentic.
Right.
Right.
Most of these people, like what they're aspiring to be is like authentic,
Right.
but they're fake
Right.
because they're
Mm-hmm.
just trying to make it look like they're real.
They're trying too hard.
They're trying way too hard.
They're trying way
man.
too hard to be
Yeah.
salespeople.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas, like,
Yeah. Yeah, I made this fucking backpack and designed it myself. And
You
it's
did?
it's a fucking badass product, but I'm fucking not a sales guy. I cannot. Yeah. There's one of these guys running around with it right now. I
Seriously?
fucking gave it to him. Yeah, this is the Packer guy or whatever.
It's
So
good.
I was like, fucking use it.
right.
Tell me what the fuck. Tell me what's wrong with it. Tell me what you hate about it. Tell me what you like about it. But wouldn't matter if it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm not a fucking good sales guy.
It's tough, dude. And
I love it. I use it. It works for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you or whoever. But
That's where I step in.
That's where.
I'm your marketing guy.
That's where
right?
Yeah.
Bugler
yeah.
steps in. But it's real. Like Matt and I have this debate, and believe it or not, like we have this debate all the time. We are really uncomfortable in asking for the conversion. Believe it or not,
Right.
like it might look like it's easy, but we wrestle with this all the time. Like we
Right.
wrestle with it because like we don't like he's more comfortable at times, but I'm not. Like I don't like being even in the public eye in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Like I don't like it. I just see it as like, hey, this is a necessary evil. Like what I would prefer to do, and I'll ask Derek. He's sitting here. He works for us. What do you think I'd prefer to do more than anything else?
Be out here and do this.
Yeah.
Be with your family.
yeah.
Yeah. I'd be with my family. Like be in the mountains. Like just doing mountain shit.
Yeah.
But like
Business is business.
business is
it
business.
is.
But the thing is it's tough to realize people want to support the people they admire, or they think the things they're interested in. Like they respect what you guys do. You know, they like the silly videos. They like what.
Well, have you ever wore a fucking suit and tie?
Yeah, for sure. When I worked
Yeah.
at the agency.
Okay.
Yeah.
But-
it was required.
but
outside
For
of
a
that,
black
Absolutely
guy.
not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, I
You
refuse
just
to.
fucking casual. You're doing the fucking thing you love. Business, being Evan Hafer.
Yeah, like and it's
Yeah.
fun, man. Like some of the most fun I've ever had is like when I go to Lewiston. I was at Stinker Station on the way out of across the bridge going to Orfino, that sinker station on the
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And like I'm sitting there at the gas pump, and like some dude will be like, "What the fuck? Like, you're Evan Hafer?" I'm like, "I am.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I am,
It's just
dude."
me.
I'm like sitting here filling up my F-150, or my Raptor, or
Yeah,
whatever.
just like any other motherfucker.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
oh shit, and like some dude was like losing his shit because he's like, oh my god, like I gotta get my girlfriend and my kids, I gotta call my uncle.
He's
And
fucking
I'm like,
humping your leg,
like-
I love.
I'm like, it makes you uncomfortable a little bit. I'm like, yeah, man, like, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from Camia. I'm like, oh, I'm originally from Whitey. He's like, what the fuck? You're from Whitey? I'm like, yeah, man. Like, I'm like right up the road.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I tell
Yeah.
people, I know Evan. I grew up with that. No way.
it's
You know
so
fucking
weird.
Evan Hafer?
Seriously?
Yeah.
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 It's wild, man.
Like, yeah. He's
Yeah,
the same
it's
dude
wild.
he's always been, man. Yeah.
Probably better.
Great
I was
fucking
kind of
guy.
a fucking asshole for a
fucking guy.
while. I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
I was a fucking asshole for a while. I don't know. I think, like, because you used to live right across the street from, like, McFarland back in the day.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, like, yeah, I used to be good buds with Brad McFarland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And see, he lived like one street back. And
That-
so, yeah, we basically lived at
He's
each
a
other's houses.
super good dude, man.
Yeah. And he's in Portland, I think.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
him on social media sometimes, but it's
Yeah,
been a
every now and
long
again.
time since I've seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that guy.
But, like, a guy like Brad is a perfect example. Like, super humble, very
Yeah.
nice guy.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
like,
Best looking dude in the world, man.
oh, yeah.
Built
He's
like,
like,
a freaking,
he's like an
yeah.
Adonis.
Yeah, he is.
And we're like, we're the same. I think social media at times, it's like, man, they promote this, like, this artificial world where people
Mhm.
live in, where they're like, oh, well, cool. Like, you got these likes, and you're like, and then people are driven by likes, which obviously we know doesn't fucking mean jack or shit,
Right.
because we also know, like, there are influencer hunters, and then there are hunters,
Right.
and then there
Yeah.
there are killers. And it's like,
Yep.
oh, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
There's very few people that transcend all and like unite around that center of
Right.
gravity.
Right. There's guys that we've never even heard of or nobody's ever heard
Fuck
of.
no.
There's guys from
There's
Clearwater
no way.
County that nobody's ever heard of
Yeah.
that are
Oh,
like
Fuck
awesome
way
dudes.
better elk
Killers.
hunters than
Guys
we'll ever
we
be.
look up to.
Yeah, guys that we
Yeah.
look up to.
Yeah, a guy named
Yeah, who are the
Dol-
guys you
Guy
guys
named Dolan. Lives
Really?
in- yeah. Dolan McLean's
Yeah,
his
he's
name.
still falling timber. And
Yeah.
he's old.
He's like 5'5" or whatever, but man,
How-
he's a
how old is he?
backcountry nut.
seriously
He's got to be in some mid-60s.
yeah, he's
Hey,
still
he
falling
was
timber.
packing elk quarters out on his
Still-
back.
still falling timber.
Awesome guy too. The nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Nicest guy in
The
the world.
nicest guy I'll ever
Yeah.
meet.
And he's just like,
Nobody will ever
whisperer.
know about him because
No.
he's just some small town dude that loves to do it.
right.
Yeah, just love to
Just
do
his way of life.
it. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of people like that.
Oh,
Because if they're
way
committed,
more.
if they're committed to the thing,
Yeah, he don't do
They
it.
get no-
he don't do it for anything other than I love to do it.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no notoriety.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that because there's a ton of those people out there that are like,
Yep.
I want zero recognition. This is my passion. I don't give a fuck about
Right.
anything other than the thing that I do. That's it.
Yep.
They just want a normal life. They don't want any recognition or whatever.
Yeah.
They're happy to just go through their day and do what they do.
Yep. Yeah, those guys were packing. Those guys were packing bulls out on their back with old fucking pack frames for miles on
Them
end.
old fashioned
So,
Yeah, those-
so
those-
long.
Dude,
You
you
know
remember
the-
this canvas
shit?
or
Yes.
this canvas strap?
Your dad
Oh,
had some.
yeah.
of
Yes,
that.
fuck yeah,
My
yeah,
dad-
yeah,
my
yeah,
dad
yeah,
had some of
dude.
those fucking-
Yeah, those
fucking
things
things.
were
Torture
that was a torture
device.
device. That's exactly what it was. It was a fucking torture device.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're a fucking teenager, and they're like, "This is what you're gonna wear," and you're like, "This is what
Right.
you wear?
Right.
This is a thing that
I'm
you
out.
wear?
Yeah.
It's a
Maybe I know
board."
about it.
My dad was always into backpacking, so we always
Oh.
went backpacking. Every
Okay.
year we go on a backpack trip. So, and that was it. You know, he had these old I don't even know what the brands.
No, I remember. Yeah,
but
because they had the
uncomfortable
external
as fuck.
frame.
The external frame.
The external frame. It's
Yep.
like hooked into the top with a
Yep.
pin. You remember
Yep.
that? They had the rivet,
Yep.
and then a pin.
Oh yeah,
over
they had
top.
the
And
little pin with the little fucking
Yeah.
ring that goes like
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that
Okay.
like your new pack you built?
yeah, right. No.
Dude, I still,
No, it's badass.
I love the external frames. I
Yeah.
love them.
It's an
There-
internal
that's-
frame, but it's like an external frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I love them.
So
Yeah, an
that
external
was
frame
like-
is it's a load hauling
Dude,
beast,
it's
you
a
know.
beast.
Yeah.
So funny thing is, my buddy John, who's a double leg amputee, Jonathan Blank, my buddy Cole Kramer and John. So Cole and Trevor Thompson packed him into a sheep hunt in Alaska. It's a double amputee
that's
with a
badass.
modified external
What?
frame backpack. Packed him into the
Oh
backcountry
my god.
and hunted with him. Like John's 100. What do you think? 135 pounds. He's 135 fucking pounds.
And they're packing.
And they're packing him into
Yeah,
a sheep
that's
hunt to fucking
badass.
kill a sheep. I got to show you this. Like,
Wow.
That's
it's
fucking cool.
fucking nuts.
That's fucking cool.
These guys, like Cole
So-
Kramer and Trevor Thompson, like badass.
So
motherfuckers.
Dolan,
Yeah.
McLean, the guy that I
Yeah.
just rent, he backpacked that freaking Jesse Jackson was the guy's name.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So he was the same thing, paralyzed guy. Backpacked that motherfucker around on a moose hunt.
In
And
Idaho.
yeah, in Idaho. So he got a moose. Yeah.
And Dolan's not a big man. He's
No,
a
he's
small
5'5",
stature.
yeah,
yeah.
He's a small
yeah.
stature fella.
Yeah.
you know?
Dude,
But just a genuine.
where
dude.
does this guy live?
Lorfino.
Okay.
Yeah. The dude was sawing. He was felling trees at 16 years old. Yeah, for Potlatch at the time.
Holy
Until they found
shit.
out how old he really was. And I think they wouldn't let him work
He'd been lying
until
to
he
him.
was 18. He was lying. He was going to work. He had a
So he's
kid.
been
He had a
working-
kid when he was young. So he's going to work to pay, to make a living to pay for this kid. Sawing at 16 years old.
Yeah, these are the stories that people like. I think
Yeah.
like, these are the stories that need to be told about
Yes.
how these guys,
Yeah.
like who these guys were, and what they did, and just their behaviors and what they did.
Yeah, me and Dad were coming out of the North Fork last year, hunting season. Dolan was setting up a camp, and he had a stove and stuff. And so we pulled in there to bullshit him. And he'd been sick. He had a back injury, and he had a big infection in his back. So he wasn't supposed to lift any weight. So, we unloaded the stove and set the stove up for him and shit. But fucking positive guy. He's just like, oh, I'm just so happy to be out here. I'm just happy to be alive and be out here.
Yeah.
He'd been fighting sickness and stuff. Hadn't been able to work for 6 months. It's like, man, this guy's an awesome dude.
Yeah, it's funny where I think that perspective from people where you see guys like that and you're like, oh yeah, this is what they're about, and this is like driven true happiness.
This is their life. Yeah.
It's just their life. Like when you think about outside of sex, what the most physically fulfilling activity you do? What is it?
Elk hunting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I always say it's
you're right.
the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like we all agree
Yeah.
to
Fuck
include
yeah.
my wife.
Yeah.
She's like, I asked her the same question. I was like, excluding sex. Same question. She's like, oh, elk hunting. I'm like, no questions, zero fucking hesitation. It was like elk hunting, like elk hunting, period.
That's
She's
awesome.
immediately all in on elk hunting.
All
Yeah.
in. Like chips in. She's like, I want to move somewhere. Like, how do we fucking get closer?
Right.
Like, what do we do?
We want to
Like,
live by
hey,
elk.
Yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
hey, dude, like, what the fuck do we need to do to change our life? I'm like, do we need to like move into a school bus and like travel around the what? The fuck? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's like September. That's kind of what it is. Like,
Yeah.
But
So my wife, I took her hunting before we had kids.
right.
So we went up there, Greer grade, Smolinski's on that, all that property
Yeah,
and
yeah.
shit. She whacked a pretty good buck. The next year she killed a bull and a buck, and then she killed another bull, and then we had kids, started having kids, and it changed her. Like we were 6 miles in one day, and I shot this fucking whopper of a bull,
Right.
and we spotted him
Where were
and
you guys
watched him down on the river.
Okay.
Yep. And we'd spotted him from a long ways away, and we ended up hiking back up in there. We were 6 miles from the rig, and we shot this bull, and she was with me. I turn around, and she's crying. I'm like, shh. I was so excited. I whacked this. It was a big 5-point, like 330-inch 5x5.
Whoa.
Yeah,
that's
really nice for
awesome.
that country. Turn
Oh,
around.
that's awesome.
It was
Dude,
huge.
she's in tears.
335 point.
Yeah. Whopper. We watched him the night before, and so we ended up getting up there and calling him. She actually spotted him when I actually killed him. And I shot this thing. He went like 20 yards and tipped over. Rifle hunt.
Right.
Turn around. She's just covering her face. She's like, I don't know, man. I ever since she had kids, or just her hormones and her emotions changed. You know, she hasn't hunted since. You know, so yeah.
I can see that. 6 miles in, she's like. Oh,
But she was a trooper. I mean, I loaded her up with all the back straps and the tenderloins and all that. Probably 40, 50 pounds.
Right.
Down off there we went. We dropped probably 1,500 feet in elevation. She was tired at that point, so we hung it in a tree, and I came back the next day and got the rest. But, yeah.
That's fucking epic. Think about that.
Yeah.
Dude. Think about most people in their relationships in their lives never experience an endurance event like that.
Right.
Together.
Right.
They don't do it. They never have that experience. One of my most, like, these cherished moments of my life are like these physically exhausting, kind of dangerous events that I do with other people, right? Like it's one of the psychological binding elements of combat, where you're physically and psychologically exhausted, and then you're connected by the extreme nature of the event. And I'm a firm believer in these, what's called team events, which is like coaches do tens of thousands, billions of dollars worth of fucking events around like how to fix your relationships. I'm like, well, the way you fucking fix your relationship is by welding it together through fucking hardship. That's how you do it. And you can do that through forced measures, which could be like financial hardship, could be like enduring all these different things. You can also do an artificial forcing function that would allow you to bind your relationship together through trust, in the context of like, this person's a fucking badass. I have respect for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the most important things where it comes to relationships. Like, man, if you have shared context in packing a lot of weight out of the mountains with your partner.
Yep.
Like,
my dad was there that day. I watched that bull the night before. We hiked in there, killed him we left the truck at probably 4. Took us till 10:30 to get to him. I killed that bull. I thought, oh, that's a pretty nice bull. So we put the rack on my dad's back. So we have this entire bull on my dad's back, my back, and my wife's back. And we're heading off this steep-ass hill, blowdowns and shit. And my dad was trying to hike off the steep hill, and the beams were just hitting the ground and launching him. Like,
oh my
fuck.
God.
He was lifting his feet off the ground, and I'm like, that fucking thing's bigger than I think it is. Like, one beam was like 57 inches. I mean, it's a big bull. That's for that country, for that area of the world.
57 inches. That's still a big bull. Yeah.
And so, it was a great day. My dad was there. My wife was there. We were there, or I was there. So it was fucking cool. Really cool.
Yeah, that's an incredible experience.
Yeah.
Like, the most binding experience a lot of people have.
If you Google Mark Cochran elk, that fucking picture pops up.
Seriously?
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Google it, everybody. Like, go Google that.
Yeah. That's like the first fucking thing that pops up.
The most binding experiences for some families is going to be watching Frozen.
Right. Right.
Just to put it in context.
Or Disney World.
Yeah,
or whatever.
We went to fucking Disney World. Like,
I don't have fucking internet here, I'd show you.
Oh, did you pack a ton of fucking weight out of the mountains, like, for hours on end?
And you start questioning your decisions in life.
Yeah.
When you got a lot of weight on your back, and you're like, what happened to get me here?
No,
now?
you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Like, when you have a lot of weight and
this
that
hurts.
fucking pain is grinding into your soul, and you have to dig deep into the center of the gravity of your own galaxy to be like, holy fuck, I have to get out of here, and I'm committed.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. Like, this hurts so much.
I've killed a few bulls. It's taken me 4 days to get out in rifle season. So we're talking 10 miles one way.
Fuck off.
To grab a fucking load and come out. So 20-mile round trips. So I do 4 loads, right? The load where I killed him, I'd bring one out always, and then 3 more days to pack the motherfucker out.
You're a fucking crazy person.
Yeah,
You're like a certified psychopath.
Yeah, I'm fucking nuts. I need to be on meds.
Like, what the fuck? 10 miles in and be like, I'm not shooting that goddamn thing. There's no fucking way. I am not shooting that thing.
Yeah.
You'd think all the talks he had with himself on those trips would have like done some good.
Yeah. Like,
okay, I'm gonna quit doing that.
No, it did no fucking good.
I'm gonna stop doing this. This is crazy. This is for fucking psychotic people.
But everybody should do it once, right?
No, I was telling my wife this, and she's going to this 2-week survival. Oh, there you go. She's going to this 2-week survival school where she's like going out because it's like, hey, you gotta like dig deep in any scenario. When you have to like dig deep, and I don't believe like races and things like that. There's artificiality that's like imposed on those things where when you're alone in the mountains and you have nothing but fucking miles of real estate in front of you, and like you're also in a lot of fucking pain,
and there's nobody coming to your rescue.
There's nobody coming.
Yeah.
There's nobody coming. Yep. You're alone. It's dark. Like that's the other thing. When people are like, they're never in the dark.
Right.
And it's like,
dude, I spent more fucking time hiking in the goddamn dark.
There's a lot of people afraid of the dark.
There's a lot of people.
A lot of them.
And I love it.
1,000% correct. There's a ton of people that are afraid of the dark, and it's amazing.
You've never seen the stars until you're out in the freaking backcountry.
How many times?
At 3 a.m, staring up at the sky.
Yeah, exactly. Let me tell you, like, let me paint this picture for you guys. All right, good spur leading up to a ridgeline leading up to your fucking place where you're going, whatever it is, right? That's your path. You're like, I'm gonna fucking take this to this to this to this, and then like work my way around because you can see the lines, right? And you know that it's like relatively open. You know you're gonna be able to get there, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like I got like 4 hours of work. I know how much work I got to do, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you're also you're not gonna be like grinding the entire time. You're like, I'm gonna fucking like move a half hour. I'm gonna sit
for a while.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because the fucking stars are out. It's beautiful. It's fucking like things are changing and it's amazing.
Right.
It's quiet. Like you can, or maybe there's like a big badass full moon and like. How fucking awesome!
Yeah, that's the best.
It's the best.
Yeah, that's like last night. Dirk killed that bull.
Oh yeah.
And I was telling our guide, I was like, "You're probably gonna have to tell me to get the fuck out of the way, because I'm gonna be right in the middle of that motherfucker. Blood's gonna be flying, shit's gonna be on. Like, that's what we live for.
Yeah.
After that fucking shot,
breaking that thing down.
It's dark.
It up.
We got our headlamps on. We're breaking this.
It's a labor of love.
We're packing that son of a bitch out. We got blood running down our ass crack. That's what we fucking live for, right there. Yeah.
So. Here a few years ago, I killed this bull, and it was probably an hour before dark.
Right.
An hour and a half before dark. And I kill it. I get over there. I was like, I'm in deep trouble. I'm by myself. And
yeah, you sent me a text. I remember that.
I'm in a bad place.
I'm on the river. I'm like, he's over on the Joe. I'm like, fuck. Do you want me to drive around and fucking help you? He's like, no, I got it.
Up at my truck, there's a foot of snow. And it was so damn steep, I had to use trekking poles to like I'd sink one, and then my foot would slide and hit it, and then I'd sink another one. And this is how I got down to where this bull's bugling. Right, I get down in there, and down where I killed him, the snow had melted. But call this big sucker in. I shoot him. I'm like, man, I'm in trouble. I'm like, well, what do you do? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So I start cutting. I break him down, get him in bags. I got him all bagged up. I'm like, all right, cool. It's time, and it's dark. Like, and I don't usually turn on my headlight until it's too dark to see. It's like, okay, it's dark now. Start looking for my headlamp. All my flashlights and headlamps are in my truck. And it's nasty, slick, treacherous country. I got my cell phone, and it's got like 20% battery left.
Solid.
I'm like, I'm not going anywhere tonight. So luckily, years of elk hunting, smart. I'm wearing like rain gear right now, like, because it's been nasty.
Right.
I got rain gear. I got a puffy jacket. I got stuff to build a fire. I'm gonna have to stay the night in the woods. Was it comfortable? It was super uncomfortable. Was I scared? No.
No.
But it was about that steep, and the flattest place I could find was behind this giant hemlock tree, and it was just a little bit of a little dip there. So I got my trekking pole and dug out a little bit more real estate where I could set, and I dug out a spot where I could kind of build a fire. But I didn't build a fire till about 1 o'clock in the morning, because once you build a fire, you got to tend the fire, and I don't want to deal with that all night long.
That's a fucking chore.
Right. So I sat there. I'd kind of sit there against the tree. I get cold, and I'd get up and do calisthenics. And when I remember
do jumping jacks or what?
I do squats and like do some
just
stuff
to
get
stay warm,
just
right?
to get the blood flowing.
Yeah.
And I remembered my mom had told me a story that you told her about when you were in basic, I think, and you guys were really cold, and you were like flexing your muscles, and you'd like release and flex, and just to try to keep warm, right? And I'm like, all right, I got to do that. And so I was doing some of my Evan Hafer flexes. I was doing some squats. I was doing some things to keep the blood flowing, keep warm, because I didn't want to fuck around with the fire. Finally, at 1 o'clock, I'm like, all right,
you gotta have a fire.
I gotta have a fire.
Yeah.
So I build this fire, and it's a goddamn steep. As the fire burns, my damn firewood starts rolling down the hill. It's that steep. And I'm like, God damn it. So anyway, all night long. Finally, the dawn comes. I'm exhausted.
You're fucking smoked.
I'm smoked. Throw a load of meat on, and then pack it out. So I got 2 more days of packing after that. What do? Do you phone a friend? Well,
I remember getting a text from you.
Yeah.
Lifeline.
I'm like, fuck, I'll drive clear around. It's probably like 5 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I got it.
Yeah. But the problem is, like, if I wait around for him for 5 hours, then I could have had a lot more packed out. I mean, you just dig in.
Yeah.
Adversity, right? Just dig in. Put your head down. Work. Got it done. But anyway, back to your point of like people being afraid of the dark. A lot of people haven't got comfortable with being uncomfortable.
What you just explained to me would literally be the hardest thing anyone would have ever accomplished in their psychological and physical lives.
Yeah.
Derek, what he just explained to you as a hobby, as a fucking recreational enthusiast, would that be the most difficult thing you would have ever accomplished in your life? Yeah.
And I prepare every time I go to do the same thing because I want to be prepared and ready. I might kind of look forward to doing it again. I mean, it sucked.
No, it's hard.
But I would do it again in a heartbeat. Like, would not even worry. People like my wife's like, "Oh my god, I'd be so weird, like scared, like something would get me or whatever." I'm like, I had a pistol.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody tried to eat me, I'd just shoot it.
Nothing.
But nothing's gonna try to eat you.
Nothing. Like that's the other thing. Is like
No.
nothing's gonna try to eat you.
Two-legged creatures are
Yeah,
far
those
worse
are
than
the ones that are
four-legged.
dangerous.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I have to explain that to people all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you could sleep under a tree in the middle of nowhere. Like
Yeah.
I had this conversation not so long ago, because we were sleeping on the beach in the North Fork,
Yeah.
and kids are out in the open sleeping on pads and
Right.
rests
Right.
and sleeping bags. I'm like, my wife's like, you don't think they need to be in like a tent? I'm like, why? Is there mosquitoes or something? Let them see the stars.
Yeah.
Like, let them see the moon. She's from Denver. She didn't know.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, that's cool. But, like, I don't know how many times in my life, like, countless, I've been out at night. And, like, I worked at night. Like, that's what I did. Like, I worked at night in the desert, and I don't know how many times, countless, I would see the sun coming up after, like, a long night of work where, like, I'm physically exhausted. Things are going to get fucking hot and I need to go to bed. Like, I'm fucking smoked. And I love the night. Like, I take my kids out. So I purposely take my kids out in the evenings because I love the evenings. Like, I love the stars.
Yep.
I love the way, especially when you got, depending on the loom, it can be amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
You can see everything. It's like
you can.
You can see everything.
You
It's
can.
amazing.
You
Yeah.
turn your headlamp off. You can
You-
walk any
exactly.
backcountry trail. Or
You can see
Yeah.
everything. You like the ground like starts to lighten up.
You have to turn that headlamp
got
off
to.
and give your eyes a
Yeah.
minute to adjust. And
It's
Yeah.
a whole new
boom.
world of beauty.
Yeah.
And you don't get that opportunity in modern society to
No.
do any of those things.
Yeah.
If you have a forcing function to be in the middle of the woods at
Mhm.
night on a fucking ridge or even in the deepest, darkest fucking holes, it's still cool. It's awesome.
It's fucking awesome.
And when you sit there and it's quiet, it's a different.
You just hear the crickets, or
yeah.
whatever.
It's different. It's like it's a different sound. It's a different vibration than what it is in the day. The day seems loud, right? It seems loud and kind of like full chaotic.
Right.
At night, when you're in the fucking woods, you're like.
The cool thing about a night is your other senses kick in. You can hear shit that you never hear during the day. You can smell shit that you never hear or smell during the day, right? Because you can't see very well. So your other senses kick in.
And there's probably it's primal, right?
Primal.
You know, it's by design. You know, as night falls, your senses become more awake.
Yeah, I'm a timber cruiser. I timber cruise for 10 years. I still do it on the weekends and shit sometimes. Really? Yeah. And so I'm in the woods constantly. Yeah. My wife's like, aren't you afraid of like the cougars and the wolves? Or what? I'm like, man, if them fuckers wanted to eat me, I'd have been fucking pile of shit a long time ago. You know?
Yeah.
Seriously. Dude, yeah, if they were out there to kill me, I'd have been a pile of fucking dog shit a long time ago.
Like I did this thing a long time ago. It was like early on in my career. I was out in the swamps, and I took this helicopter out in the middle of the like literally Louisiana South Swamp, and there I flew in, and there's a river going 10 knots. It's fucking fast, and we pushed boats into the water, and we got in the boats and we drove them upriver, and then we walked through the swamp. But as we're driving up the river, there's like, I was looking through, NVGs off the boat, and there's like all these like lights that were glowing about this far apart.
Fucking crocodiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get into the swamp, and the swamp is fucking dark. It's dark and it's murky and it's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Coming from Idaho, it's
yeah.
scary.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
We're not used to that shit.
No fucking
No.
And like, get off our boats, we scuttle our boats, we get into the swamp, and we're walking through the swamp at night for 10 kilometers.
Oh wow!
Holy fuck!
No, it ain't no joke.
It's
like,
not easy.
No, it ain't. It's not only not easy, but it's
this
fucking
is
scary.
A training mission.
Yeah, it's scary. It's just training.
Yeah,
it's just training. We don't have to. I mean, it's training.
Yeah.
And then we live there in the swamp for another week.
Yeah.
Like sleeping, like you just described.
Yeah.
Getting up, doing reconnaissance, doing like all the things that we do. But like, bro, if I wouldn't have been forced into that situation, there's no fucking way I would know.
It
what
wasn't
the swamp.
fun.
It wasn't fun at all.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times when you're like, because when we did our what's called the infill, full beautiful illume, because you kind of plan it around those things you can see, and you don't use the light.
Yeah.
You're walking by moonlight.
Right.
You walk by moonlight. You use a map and a compass. And navigating through the swamp with a fucking map and a compass, I'm here to tell you, it is a nightmare.
I bet it's
hard because it's fucking flat.
Everything looks the fucking same.
Yeah. It's the same.
Yeah.
And then as you're going through, because you're using game trails, well, what do you think fucking positions for ambushes on game trails?
Right.
Fucking gators.
Oh, yeah.
So you're using game trails because you're like, this is fucking clear path, man. Let's walk on this. Dude, it's crazy. But that context, like that like, hey, I have this like binding element of my DNA where I'm like, hey, I know what it's like at night in the swamp, sleeping on the ground in your fucking clothes, walking for miles, carrying 100 fucking pounds on your back. Dude, I would never trade that experience for anything.
No, it gives you freedom. It gives you confidence to do anything. You're not scared.
Anything. I'm not scared. Like if somebody dropped me in the middle of wherever, and that's the other psychological benefit to whatever it is that we like collectively have done is like give confidence. You're like, I don't give a fuck.
I've been here before.
Yeah. It's like if somebody was like to drop us off in the mountains like 10 miles that way.
Yeah.
Like, what do I got to walk?
Right.
So that's the biggest problem I have is I got to go on a hike.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
Yeah. Right.
1 foot
my
in front of
wife's
the other?
always.
Wow.
My wife always said, "What if you get lost?" You can't get fucking lost.
You can't get lost.
No, in that river where we hunt.
Yeah, you can't get lost.
You can't get lost.
Can't get
What do you mean you
lost.
can't get lost? Well, I know where every fucking river drains. I know where every ounce of water fucking ends up.
I haven't been up there like on a regular basis for years.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, like if you drop me off in like the Mallard Larkins,
Boom. You're going to
or-
look and go, okay, here's where I'm fucking at.
here's where
Yeah.
I am. Okay, this is where I got to go to hit fucking,
Yeah.
12 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I got to go this way. I know there's going to be more logging roads this way or whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
not, there is no such thing as lost.
No.
It doesn't
nope.
exist.
You might get turned around.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? In foggy day or whatever, you can't tell which way's fucking up.
Yeah.
You may get turned around.
You'll get turned
but
around.
you're gonna
But you'll
get
find your
lost.
way.
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
find a
That's
river.
right.
Once you find a river, you're like, oh, I'm good.
Yep.
Like, okay.
Yep.
So you go to a drainage, go to another drainage, go to another drainage. Like, okay, great. I'm out of here. Like, it's fucking easy shit.
Yep.
Like, that's like the beautiful thing about where we're at. I used to always think about that. I was like, man, wouldn't it be rad to fight a war up there where we knew it?
Right? It's on your turf.
Yeah,
on
it's on
your
our turf.
ground.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
like some dude dropping
Oh,
into the
they're
middle of
fucked.
the middle of the North Fork? There's some fucking dudes jumping into the middle of like the North Fork trying to fight a war. Like,
Right.
it would be so fucked.
Yeah, they would be so fucked. Yeah.
Like,
What do we
oh
do?
my god, what do we do? They're like, they're scared of everything. They
Yeah.
don't know any of the terrain.
Oh,
Like,
fuck.
oh my god, you'd be like, we're just
Yeah,
gonna do
the
here,
wolves
here.
are fucking howling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Are there grizzly bears?
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like all
Oh,
the
shit.
soldiers, the conscript army would be like, "Oh my god, what's up here? Are there
Right.
still mammoths? There's still woolly mammoths. Do they eat people? I don't know."
I was fucking walking up a trail one time, and it was probably 4 a.m. on my way up on an elk hunt. And I'm walking up this fucking trail, and I'm like, fuck, there's a set of eyeballs. Oh shit, there's another set of eyeballs. Oh, there's another set of There's a fucking pack of wolves. I walk right
Shut
in
the
the middle
fuck
of
up,
Yeah, I have my
seriously?
headlamp. This is just with my fucking little headlamp on.
Yeah.
Right? My gun's in the back of my fucking pack. And I just fucking talked to them. Hey, how's it going? Whatever. They fucking kind of skittled off a little.
Yeah,
Couple hundred
yeah.
yards, start howling and shit. Whatever. Daylight
They're
came.
just
I never
dogs.
see them again. But
Dogs.
I don't want to fuck
Canine.
up a good elk hunt by
Canines.
firing off around, in the dark.
No
but
way. I used to
but,
have.
yeah, if they wanted to eat you,
They
they
would
wanted
eat
to
you.
have you. Fuck.
They'd have
I'd
you.
have been dog shit a long time ago.
I used to have this place out in Colorado, tiny little like 500 square foot like cabin, and black bears were there every day, like every day. So you just get used to being around black bears. You just get used to it. They'd be on the front porch. I'd be packing bags, getting ready to go somewhere, and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up, man? What are you doing?" Like, or they'd be
That's
getting in the back
fucking
of my
Charlie.
truck, like they'd be all they're all
Oh, them
over the
fucking things,
place.
they will too. They'll
Yeah,
eat your
they're-
fucking gas cans. They'll chew off your motorcycle seats.
everywhere all
Yeah.
the time. They're just like a nuisance. They're just like a fucking nuisance. And I got to the point where I'm like, "Hey, man, get the fuck out of here!" Like you're just kind of irritating me now. Like you get to the point where you're like black bears are every day, all the time. They're just a nuisance.
Yeah.
And I would shoot them with my BB gun just as like an asshole, like just be fun with them.
Yeah.
Like shoot them with a pellet gun in their butt. And just as like. And half the time they wouldn't even notice that it was like
Yeah,
registering. So
yeah.
I'd have to like
Pump that bit.
like, pump it up, and like I'd blast them with like the grizzly spray.
Yeah, the pepper
Yeah,
spray
the pepper
shit.
spray, like it'd come out
Yeah.
and like dudes would be sitting next to my garbage cans that I also had to jerry rig like 1,000 times because they were in my shit all the time. And I'd come out and just like dose them with a fucking high grade grizzly spray that you'd get, those
Yeah.
big canisters.
Oh, yeah.
I just fucking blast them. And but they were around the house all the time, all the time, like all the time.
We
all the time.
fucking went camping, me and Dirk.
Oh,
My
yeah.
son was 5.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's been 11 years ago. And we're in these little fucking pup tents in this campground. And we hear this fucking rustling going on. We shine lights on the fireplace, or the campfire, which is 10 yards away.
Maybe. Yeah.
And the motherfucking bear has our lunch pail.
What?
He's
your
got
lunch
my
pail?
fucking cooler.
He's got it in his mouth, carrying it like this
Yeah,
by
yeah.
the handle.
Shut
Yeah.
up.
No shit. This is no shit. And I'm
every fucking ounce of food that we had.
I'm like, hey, put that down. And the bear didn't even acknowledge my existence. Wouldn't even look at me.
No. I don't give a fuck.
I'm like, Mark,
Pack that fucking lunch pail up on the hill. We gotta listen to him tear that fucking cooler apart.
He tore it apart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And ate every fucking bit of everything we had for the weekend. That was
Oh.
all our food, me and my
perfect.
son's food. Yeah, perfect. The motherfucker's up there chewing up our lunch pail and shit. And then it was 30 minutes later and he was back. Back at the campfire, chewing up lighters and all this other fucking bullshit. And I remember him walking by our tent, like 5 fucking feet. I had my son next to me.
Right.
Yeah. And then he went over and you could hear him getting in the fucking... We were in a campground. So there was a couple gals just across the way there, maybe 50 yards away. And the motherfucker was getting in their cooler. Getting in there, eating all their fucking food. But they were yelling at us, thinking we were
They thought it
stealing
was
their
us.
shit.
They thought it was us like getting.
They were
in.
yelling at you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
so I
guys.
hollered back and I said, it's a
Get
motherfucking
out of
bear.
my cooler.
Yeah,
Hey guys,
it's-
that's our stuff.
Yeah. I told them it's a fucking bear. It's not us. We're over here in our fucking tent.
Yeah,
And-
I was down in Aquarius one time or wherever, like one of those, like, and we had a fucking black bear in there. The same thing. We're like, get the fuck out of here. You know, like annoying, right? Whereas, like, most people will see a black bear and they're like, ah! Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, their fucking heads are exploding, like, whoosh. Oh
It's
my
a
God, this
bear.
thing's going to eat me. And it's like, dude, it's not going to eat you. It is a, like,
Yeah.
it is not, it doesn't give a fuck.
but if it
about you.
decides to, it will eat you.
Yeah. If it wants
If it
to.
decides to, yeah.
If it wants to, it will.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
99% of the time, it's just not.
Yeah,
you know, it's
no.
like it's a big fucking, cat. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they'll crawl up
Or-
on. They got in the back of my dad's pickup one time. He had a couple old motorcycles in there, and they ate the fucking seats off the bikes,
nice.
chewed up the gas can, fucking bear tracks all over the windshield and the hood and everything else.
I
That son
had-
of a bitch.
I had bears get into the back of my Tacoma, and I woke up. I was sleeping, and I was dead asleep, and I heard wow, 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 and so I was trying to solve my garbage problem because I put cross bungees across the top of my fucking garbage cans then I got like 50-gallon drums, and I was just trying to keep the bears out of my garbage. So finally I was like, I'm just gonna put them back in the truck, because I'm like, I'll just fucking haul this shit to the dump. So I put them in the back of the truck. It's a black bear jumping on the back of the bumper, up and down, trying to get in the back of the truck. And I'm like, I go out there with I have like these Surefire lights that are like, a million
fuck
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I'm like, hey, get the fuck out of here, man. I'm trying to sleep. And he's like, oh, hey, what's up, man? And then he like sprints off or whatever. I had one of these black bears, like, my window was in like right next to my bed, and I heard this grinding, and it was like the like sandpaper,
Yeah.
like this, and I'm like, wake up out of his sleep, and this fucking black bear, because I had my window open, and he was like running his claws on the outside of the window, the window screen.
Shit.
He was just like grinding on it, like this, like grinding on his claws right next to my fucking face in bed. And I'm like, hey, man, get the fuck out of here. He's like, oh, hey, sorry, man. I was just like taking a fucking quick trip over here, like I guess I am leaving, It was awesome. And then he like bolted out.
Shit.
But it was funny because he was like, had this black bear face maybe a foot away from my face next to my
Yeah.
bed. And he's just looking at me after I'm like, hey, man, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah. Totally right, man. I gotta leave,
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then he decided to leave.
Yeah,
Like,
them fuckers aren't afraid of anything
They don't
when,
give a fuck.
when they decide. Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
that one was like a yogi. Because I remember like 2 hours after, that bastard got in those ladies'
Oh yeah.
shit. Because they were yelling at us. And I hollered at them finally. I said, that's not us. That's a fucking bear.
Yeah.
And like 2 hours later, I could hear people on that fucking clear other side of the campground hollering and yelling. It was like 2 a.m, 3.
Yeah.
There's only one
That's
reason
awesome.
why they were doing that.
Yeah.
That's that bear was over there. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
stealing all the fucking. He was getting in
The next day
everybody's
we
food.
went up and found your cooler, and there was a bunch of other coolers up there.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like he.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a
Regular
habitual
yogi.
offender.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
if you
great.
will.
He was as a learned behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Behavior.
Yeah.
Let's go eat.
All
You guys
right.
ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do it.
man.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys. This is
Yeah.
the Black River Coffee Podcast. Dirk, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, The Bugler, one word. Dirk Durham, and yeah, check it out.
And you can't find Mark.
No, you can't find me. Mountain ambush. Yeah. No
Mountain
side
ambush?
deal.
Yeah. Mountain ambush.
Yeah.
Mountain ambush. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Black Rifle Coffee Company wants to send off the year with one final epic sale. From December 27th through January 3rd, save up to 70% on select products so you can end your 2022 with some savings. Shop all the best Black Rifle apparel with the patriotic designs you know and love, plus many you haven't seen before. Make saving money on coffee your New Year's resolution by joining the Coffee Club for half off your first month. Go to blackriflecoffee.com and start the new year right with these epic savings on America's coffee.
That concludes today's training. Any questions? Woo! Drum titties, boy!